Internets, we have an announcement to make. The Combat Jack Show will be live at the A3C Festival this week, starting Thursday. We'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll be doing a whole bunch of stuff down there. We'll be doing panels. We'll be doing live shows. The weekly drop will be live. Listen, we'll be there kissing babies, shaking hands, and just having fun with the internets. King, what's our schedule looking like?
Oh, man, we got a live show Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. at the Loudermilk Center. Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., doing a weekly drop. Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Another live show.
You know what I mean? Another live show at the Loudermilk Center. And then we're doing a fabulous panel, you know what I mean?
On podcasting, right?
The present and future of podcasting and digital media, featuring none other than the Combat Jack Show. And drum roll, please. Featuring Juan Epstein. That's right. Peter Rosenberg. Cypher
the
Sounds,
two best podcasts out in the game.
The two best in the game, man. Sitting at the round table, you know what I mean? We're going to have fun with it, though.
Most definitely. And we'll be doing a bunch of other stuff.
And come fuck with us at the Get Brunch. Shout out to Sean Phelan. You know what I'm saying? We doing that Saturday. You know, sometime in the day. I don't know what time, but we're floating around. You know what I mean? Just look for it on the IG, Twitter, and all that.
Internets. A3C Festival live this week starting Thursday. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The whole Combat Jack Show will be down at A3C Festival live this week in Atlanta, Georgia. Live and direct. Come fuck with us.
Fuck with us.
You ready for combat? No escaping. You ready for combat? You ready for combat? Yeah. The Combat Jack Radio Show.
Internets, this portion of the Combat Jack Show is brought to you by Bevel, the superior shaving system designed specifically for people with coarse and curly hair. I use Bevel. I got a lot of people who use Bevel, and you need to use Bevel too. So go to getbevel.com, GETBEVEL.com, and punch in the promo code COMBAT, COMBAT, like me, and get 20% off all your purchases. Once again, go to getbevel.com, punch in the promo code COMBAT for 20% off all your purchases. Shave like a boss. Internets, you're tuned into the Combat Jack Show. What's up, Premium?
What's going on, Combat?
Man, October is cuffing season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what do you do when it's cuffing season?
Well, I'm already cuffed, so I can't really comment on that.
Well, what do you do when you're cuffed?
But I guess you Netflix and chill.
Yeah.
I guess you...
Nah, you can't Netflix and chill because you're going to make another baby.
Well, that's true. That's true. I don't need no more.
You know, Narcos and chill. You know,
I'm messing with Zoo. I'm messing with Zoo, actually. I don't know if you mess with that. Zoo?
Zoo?
Yeah.
Is it on Netflix?
It's one season. Yeah, it's 13 episodes.
Okay.
I heard they just got renewed. It's part with CBS and James Patterson, but it's like about animals. It's dope if you check it out.
It's like a National Geographic about animals?
Nah, it's more like, you know, what had like been affected by the animals. Like animals are like going against the people. Like they're not scared against.
So it's a drama. Science fiction type?
Somewhat. It's dope. It's addicting.
Okay, so what are the most dangerous species out there?
Leopards.
Leopards.
Yeah.
They run this shit?
I mean, the
leopards run this rap shit?
But you know what it was? It's a whole crazy thing because it was like a company who puts like pesticides in foods and all this, different type of stuff. So, like there was rats becoming like, as able to be like tigers.
Right.
Just
are they
people.
growing? Or they?
Well, growing, yeah, sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Zoo.
And not scared. The thing is,
that sounds like some crazy shit.
Yeah, I'm telling you, and they're not scared of the people.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, listen, man, internets, this is a very special episode. We have, every now, I haven't done this in a long time, man, like going back to our roots, interviewing people in media. We got so caught up, and I don't mind interviewing celebrities and artists and producers, but it's been a long time since we jumped into media, particularly the form of magazine and what magazines are today, digital, print, the whole nine. So internets, I'd like to welcome to the Combat Jack Show, Mr. Andy Cohen, president and publisher of Fader magazine.
Thank you very much.
And amongst other things.
Yeah.
And Naomi, how do I pronounce your last name?
Zeichner,
editor-in-chief, right?
Yep.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you very much.
You guys just hit your 100th issue of Fader magazine.
Yep.
Double cover of Drizzy Drake and Rihanna.
Yes, sir.
You got the internet's going nuts.
We are trying.
You're doing. The Drake interview was very engaging.
Yeah, he was very forthcoming
with
us. So I think we have a great history with him. So
you guys are known for giving artists that grow to be part of our culture their first covers, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fader set out, 16 years ago with really an early access to artists, and it just came naturally. So we had, because of Rob and John's background,
Rob Stone and
John Cohen, our two owners in the music industry, they had such early access to records. And, Rob had Outcasts, before it was ever sent out to media. So I think Fader was started based on having that inside track, even though they had no magazine experience.
Right.
So I think, having that access early on, and Rob coming from more of the urban world and John coming from more of the alternative at the time world, those backgrounds really reflected how kids were growing up in the 90s and 2000s, listening to every genre of music. So
now, didn't Rob have extensive experience with Bad Boy and Puff back in the days?
Yes. Yeah, Rob did. He was head of promotion for Clive Davis at Arista. He was helped Puffy start Bad Boy, actually, and was very involved in early days of Notorious B.I.G. and bringing him around the country to radio. So, yeah.
How do you nab both Drake and Rihanna for the same issue, for the same magazine?
Oh man, you just pray. I think with Drake, right, we had worked with him earlier this year on a big Sprite campaign, and we had worked with him on that cover in 2009.
Right.
And we hit his camp, we hit Oliver and Future, his managers, and kind of said, listen, we understand if you don't want to do this, but we really hope that you do. And, and there's sort of no one else that we'd want to work with us on. And we were just sort of very lucky that the timing worked out, I think, that they were kind of ready to talk because they hadn't done a big magazine piece in a long time. Well, it feels like forever, but it was about a year.
Right.
And then Rihanna, right, we had hit her, throughout the time. I mean, it's funny. It's one of the first meetings I took when I came back to the Fader a year ago was at Rock Nation. And kind of just said, listen, y'all, this is all that I want.
Right.
This is the goal for me.
So you had been planning this for some time.
I think we had just been kind of putting a feeler out, and that this was an important story to us. That Rihanna was an important artist to us, and that Fader is very known for doing things first. And I think there was sort of an idea. People all the time are like, why do you do this cover and why not this cover? And people think that if something, I try to explain that there's no science to this. Nothing is too pop, nothing is too indie, nothing is too old. I don't know. It's what's right. And so it was important to me to let them know Rihanna is not too pop for us. We can do this. And then as things, progress closer, we kind of hit more and more people, and finally the stars aligned. But it was, it was definitely different than some of our other cover processes. But she was amazing to work with.
It's a lot of energy, right?
A lot of energy. I remember we actually started planning this issue about a year and a half ago.
Right.
We were looking at our editorial calendar, and I was like, whoa.
We're coming up on 100.
We have 100
right.
in a year and a half. Let's start thinking about that. So we did start thinking about that real early.
Was there any plan Bs?
We had probably planned C and D, and maybe L.
Right. Who were your plan
F.
Bs? Can you share?
I mean,
plan Bs and Cs. And...
I can't say that because it's just not right, you know, because I don't want anyone to ever feel like they were, they were the afterthought.
Right. They got shafted, right?
Yeah, or they got shafted because it was never really about a plan B. In all honesty, it was really who are the two artists that most represent everything that Fader stands for, over our 16-year history, the diversity, male, female, and really. Naomi has said this a lot recently, but it's almost like the mom and dad of Fader culture, and having Drake, we gave Drake his first cover back in 2009. And I think he always felt that Fader didn't take things out of context to be salacious, with headlines, with clickbait. I think he really understands what Fader's about, and that, we're very much about the artist and telling real stories and not trying to, just generate, web traffic and stuff like that. So,
in an age of, I would say, increased competitiveness based on, the state of magazines, the state of print, the state of media, I would imagine that the plan or the strategy is to get the most popular persons on the cover. But you guys tend to go against that. You guys go against the grain, and you have artists on the cover that I've never heard of. That's how I just, looking at your cover, I discovered King Cruel and actually even Young Thug on the cover. Why do you go that way? When convention would say get the biggest person for this month.
Yeah, I think that, it's funny, to us, right, when we did that Young Thug cover, for instance, he felt really huge to us. I think, that it's not just, I mean, right now it's so much easier to kind of really quantify somebody's social reach or somebody's popularity. Like those numbers actually exist in this way that they didn't before. You can see how many Instagram followers somebody has. But I think like we feel, that there is like a saturation point where somebody's story becomes truly interesting because they've done things that matter to people and that have created conversations, and they have enough going on in their lives that we can actually write something that's 3,500 words long that's actually going to matter and be interesting, right? Like, so that's the threshold for us. And, like it just has to matter to us, and we have to think it matters to our readers. So like somebody like Popcon or like Ty Dolla $ign, artists that definitely like have a certain level of just saturation in the industry and have done enough in their career, but maybe not the hugest to everyone. But I think for us, right, it ultimately, like, it's not about how many chart hits do you have, how many Twitter followers do you have. It's really just about, is there a story to tell?
Right.
Because I think, right, like no one's going to read our stories. No one's going to care about our magazine. No one's going to share it with their friends if that story isn't substantial. So that's like the bottom line.
And I think, my background being at other, national music magazines, I've been at Fader for 12 years now,
right.
but, I think it got to the point where you could think of an artist like a Jay-Z or a Radiohead, and you could picture them on the cover of every single one of like those magazines.
Right.
And to me, after working at Spin and Vibe and then The Source, I'm like, where am I going to go from here? Like, am I going to just go to Rolling Stone? It was all felt very homogenous. Everything was the same. It was in the old school days of publishing. It was only about how many copies are you going to sell, how many subscriptions are you going to drive. And to do that, you had to put the biggest artists on the cover.
Right.
So when I saw Fader come out, and the first issue I saw was number 3 with Beck and D'Angelo together and Mos Def on the backside,
Right.
It just felt very fresh. It felt very reflective of how young people were listening to different genres of music, And I always joke about it because I'm 41 now, and I always say I'm from like the Walk This Way generation because, when I started listening to music in 6th and 7th grade and really started getting into it, like that was what just blew my mind. I'm like, white dudes playing rock music, rappers rapping, putting it together. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And I think Fader really established that early viewpoint of there is no genre. It's just about like really good music and who's pushing things forward. And it felt they were really more like those magazines that I mentioned were in the early days when it wasn't about how much you're going to sell ads for, and how big your circ is going to get. And I think as it's transitioned to the digital age, it's really been the same thing. To Naomi's point, it's like really about, at this point, quality, while people like to post everything. And I think the biggest thing that's helped build Fader is our ability to say no.
Right.
And that means saying no to friends that we have that are longtime managers of artists. And, it's not...
With big-named artists?
I'd say with big-name artists,
Right.
small-name
Right, of
artists,
course.
and a lot of times they pitch us with their full passion behind it, and it's just not going to connect with us. And we have to say no. We've never done favors, and I think that's what's kept Fader's integrity really strong and made it about the Fader as a brand name. So we could put people like, I could put you on the cover next month.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
let's make that happen.
And people look at it and be like, oh, that must, that's a huge cosign.
Right.
So.
But how competitive is the Spirit though? Still, I mean, you guys are a brand. You guys, it's a competitive field. Like, how do you stay competitive when you're looking in a different direction?
I mean, I think we stay competitive, honestly,
Right.
by not really paying attention too much to what everyone else is doing.
Right.
And I think that's really part of like what is in our DNA has always been like, who's next, like who's that guy, who's
Right.
that girl, like what's that band, what country, has a scene that's popping. I think it really always has come down to like us. And it sounds, I don't mean to say that like to sound like we don't have competitors, because we all compete
Right.
on certain levels. But for us, like staying focused on forward, has really helped us, I think, maintain that edge.
But honestly though, how big was that nut when you guys landed these covers though? Like the Drake and fucking Rihanna cover. Like, did you motherfuckers go crazy in the office?
I honestly feel like I'm just now celebrating now
Right.
that everything is out, because like, to be honest, like it was challenging at every
Right.
every step. There
Right.
was no true win. Like every win came another challenge a little bit. But I mean, like, I think that tells you something, right? Like, I think this work, like, to get these stories done in the right way that sort of feels of the Fader and not just something generic that anyone could do. Rihanna does thousands of magazine covers, but this one, like, how can we make this different and feel like us? it's like challenging work. And I think that, but now that everything is sort of out in the world, I definitely feel super proud of the whole team for putting it together.
You know, the Drake interview is so timely because so much has happened. I mean, this guy's been on top of the world for the past, year and a half, 2 years, but this past summer's been monumental. This guy's like supernova phase. I mean, the interview was great. It shed a lot of light on the whole Meek Mill thing and how he studies the game. But there's something different about the Rihanna piece. Like, can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think that going into that, we kind of laid out our ridiculous asks that we lay out when we start any cover story. And every cover story kind of ends up different in terms of what the access is and how many days of reporting. But right, I think for this one, we were like, our expectations are like the moon. And they were like, okay, let's like bring this back to earth a little bit. But in the end, right, we had this wonderful photo shoot with Rihanna where she took some self-portraits, and then we also had our photographer sort of set up some stuff, and it was this like crazy collaborative cool thing. But in the end, we never spoke to her, right? There was no interview. She kind of said, I'm not feeling it.
Right. How'd you feel about that? Tell us the process, like emotionally, when you nabbed her for the cover, but you don't get the interview. Like, what's the process like?
I mean, I think the process ultimately is that we agreed that we wouldn't have an in-person meeting, which I think for us is, like that's of course much better always, but that we would do some email questions. So for us, that process became like, how are we going to ask email questions that will matter at all? So we kind of convened this like group of people, and we had this big email chain, and right, because like that's like, what are your opportunities, and like how can you just send those like messages into the sea and hope that something cool comes back? And so even at that point, we were kind of like, this is already going to be very fundamentally different from what we usually do, because this is like an email correspondence. Who knows what this is? Right. In the end, she just wasn't interested in doing it. And it became this real puzzle, like a Rubik's Cube of like, how do you do this and shed some light, but also not be too assumptive, or, how do you keep the tone right, but also not do something that's like totally useless and puffy.
And inorganic, basically.
Right. So the writer that we hired to do it is someone who's interviewed Rihanna a couple times before in life, but also somebody who I think just is like Rihanna, doesn't give a fuck, really smart, kind of like knows who she is and knows what she wants. And so that was a big choice, right? That was like a big way of solving this puzzle, was like, let's just be like Rihanna. Let's just channel the essence of Rihanna.
Let's get into her head, right?
Yeah, and instead of trying to do a traditional write around where you talk to lots of secondary sources or really try to like bring up, have other people shed light on her, it didn't really feel right. We were like, if she's not going to take it that heavy, we're not going to take it that heavy either. We're just going to really write about why, before we started taping, you said like Rihanna has the women going nuts. Like why is that? Like why
she's got the women going fucking nuts.
Absolutely. Like she's just a person that I talk to my friends about constantly as if we know her, but we don't know her at all, and I think
we don't, right?
I mean, I don't know.
When you think you know her, then you don't know her.
Sure.
She switches it up all the time.
And it's just like, why do we feel so close to her? Why do we feel like she matters so much to us? Why does she feel like this beacon of light in this crazy world? So that we just wrote about that. And I think that what the result was just something that, at the end of the day, Fader wants to publish stuff that's really nice to read, that you can sit down with, that is worth being printed on paper. And I think we achieved that. So even though maybe not the perfect circumstance and definitely different for us and kind of this once in a lifetime Fader 100 thing, I'm super happy with sort of what Rihanna brought to it, what our writer Mary brought to it, and how it turned out.
What's the response to the Rihanna piece?
Really positive. And actually, like, both from Rihanna fans as well as kind of like media people who are talking about this sort of new state of celebrities who don't speak. I think that it's much more common now. And I think that this was a story sort of Beyonce, the Vogue Beyonce story in the September issue was also a write around. I think people realize that this is like a thing that's going to happen more, and again, like a hard kind of thing to write. And it was nice to hear sort of back from just the media or the writing community feedback on sort of how we approached it.
I think also, one of the things that's most interesting was to see how the artists themselves react to these pieces. So I think there was no obligation on her whatsoever to do anything with the story.
Right.
And she posted it to her Facebook page. She posted the link on Twitter.
That's hot.
She posted 6 of the images from the spread on her Instagram account. So, I think that really does say something. And not that we do things to just make sure that the artists are happy.
Right.
But I think when we do a good piece and everyone's happy with it, like everybody wins. And I think that's what ended up happening here.
Is this your first time working with Rihanna?
Yeah,
right.
Actually it is.
With regard to the other artists, like a Drake, who you've given their first covers, how loyal do they tend to be? Do they tend to move on loyalty in terms of like, guys, we need you for this issue, and they're like, you know what, fuck it, I'll give you this cover because you guys gave us our first cover.
Yeah, I think we see that in, I would say about 90% of the artists that we work with, and the ones that we really, see blow up that we had on our cover first before anybody else. I think we see that like a really good success rate there.
They remember that, huh?
They do. It's a huge inflection point, I think, in their careers. It's like the first time hearing your song on radio, the first time seeing your face on the cover of a national, global magazine. I think those are moments that you don't forget as an artist coming up. And we've seen the kind of history now, or the trajectory of these artists, and really the relationships that we've been able to continue to have. I think the biggest thing that's helped us with that over the past 10 years is obviously the digital evolution, because when we were just a print magazine and doing some events, we had to keep it moving in every issue. We had to keep talking about the next people. So we didn't have space to really continue the dialogue with artists. Like, we'd put Kanye on the cover first, and then we wouldn't have a lot of ways to continue talking about it.
Right.
So I think that's another thing that has really helped us evolve, is really, that continued ability to do video with the artists, to continue their story as they get big, through digital. And
you know what? Drake is a class act. He's somebody that I feel like really gets it. Like he's as long as I have had run-ins with him and know him, he's somebody that is like, lives by, I feel like, the old school rules of like, being loyal and appreciative of people and never forgetting anything, But more so, I wanted to touch on real quick is how important is it for these like issues, because print is so different now these days, to grow legs. I mean, obviously you want it to move out there. I'll give an example, even like something like, I don't really pay attention to much print these days, but like something like, even like a Complex, they have like a Justin Bieber. But I heard, I was with my aunt and I seen it on The View. So I'm saying like, I know you can't predict what could happen, but as far as for Fader, like, how important is that for it to grow legs and travel and, and hope to get, more than just in, a cover?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, again, I think through social media, through all of this stuff, all these channels now, you have so many places for this stuff to live and for your consumers or potential readers to find you. So I think it is important that you surround the content and everything that you're doing with all of those legs and all those channels. I think as far as the print magazine showing up on, things like, on television, like, I don't think we ever set out with that as our goal, or else we would be a very different, type of publication. But yeah, I think it's important for us to get it out there, but it's more important for us to feel great about it when it goes out. And then we really do let these things live, and travel.
Coming up in the 80s and the early 90s, I was a big magazine addict. And not even just, domestically. I remember being in love with the Face magazine from the UK, because I saw LL Cool J on the cover back in the 80s. Or the, independent magazines like the Andy Warhol's Paper, which was so engaging because it was so eclectic. The stock was different in terms of the paper. And then just like you said, the diversity in terms of what your magazine does. Is that intentional? Is that kind of like a throwback? Or are you paying homage to like the traditional urban, particularly like New York City, the grit and grime of like, the premium of being eclectic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when the Fader was launched that we were looking to a lot of those European magazines and thinking, but I mean, what I think about now, right, is like I grew up kind of, I'm young enough that I had CDs, but really like I'm one of these people who like I don't want any files. I want everything in the cloud on a hard drive.
Yep.
Right? So it's like, but if something's going to exist on a piece of paper, it better be good.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now there's a lot of magazines that are still getting printed that like it's not easy to make a magazine and to make every page on point, right? Like it, especially when you have a team as small as ours, it's a labor of love, and it's just like a really creative, difficult problem. And I think that to make something that's really worthy of being printed it better look good. It better be something that you actually want to keep. The photography better be as good as the writing, and I think that for us, like, recently we've kind of like reevaluated almost a little bit, like even like down to the word count of each different type of story. Like what do we really need to tell these stories, and how are they going to really be worthy of being printed and being something that you want to keep? And I feel like Fader is really unique, maybe in that it sort of set out looking that good and being that eclectic and interesting, and that it hasn't become diluted. If
Right.
anything, it's better
The
now.
the decline in the economy, particularly in that field, hasn't affected your commitment to quality.
No, because we found other ways to generate revenue.
Right.
You know, I think that's been the key. And for us, we look at the print as our halo piece. You know, that's the thing that every other month, you know, lands on people's desks. And it's a huge separator. It's almost the whole game is flipped now. Like the competition, you know, the war field, the battlefield is the internet now. But we compete with a lot of people that don't have that print asset.
Right.
So when that comes out every other month, you know, it's a reinforcement of the quality of the brand. I think we've never compromised the physical quality of the magazine through changing the paper stock, making it smaller, you know, putting ads on the back. You know, we've done 2 covers since day one.
Since day one, why 2 covers, man?
Because I think, you know, 2 covers, when you're a magazine that's about diversity, right? And you have, even if we were monthly, right? What happens is you put someone on the cover and that stamps you for that time period, right? So people go by a newsstand and they'll see Young Thug on the cover of Fader, and if there was like an ad on the back, you know, people will just think, oh, that's a rap magazine.
Right.
You know, and I think for the way the magazine was founded by Rob and John, coming from such different backgrounds, you know, I think it was a way for us to always have a balance, you know, and there's been issues where we have 2 rappers, a rapper on the front and a rapper on the back, because that's just what was right at the time. When there's no set formula, like Naomi said, there's no, like, we have to have a rap cover and a rock cover and or a DJ and a, you know, so I think it's been a huge asset for us to help reinforce the Fader as a diverse brand.
Now, you grew up in publishing. You like, your father worked at Newsday.
Yeah.
So you grew up, like, did you know this was going to be what you were going to do?
No, I mean, you know, I grew up having a newspaper writer, you know, an editor for Dad. I think I saw a parent that really loved what they did.
Right.
You know, and I think he, you know, showed me that you can go to work and you can love it. You know,
Right.
you don't have to have a job where you have a briefcase and, you know, you grow a mustache and, you know, you got to, like, get on a train and, you know, I saw him having a lot of fun, you know, and interviewing.
So he loved it.
He loved it,
Right.
you know, and I think I was always interested in journalism. When I started getting into music, it wasn't good enough for me to just hear the music. I needed to know about the artists, you know, and I even remember one of my best friends was like, he's like, why do you care, you know, what Kurt Cobain or what, you know, Chuck D do in their off time, you know, and
That's what makes a story.
and I realized
That's what fucking makes a story.
that's when I realized I was different.
Right. It's good to be different, right?
Yeah. I just think, you know, there was a depth that I just was a junkie for that stuff. You know, any magazine. My dad got the first copy of Spin in 1985, sent to him, you know.
Who was on the cover?
Madonna.
Madonna. Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, I remember seeing that. And then I remember seeing the first issue of Vibe, you know, with Snoop. And
That was amazing, wasn't it?
yeah. And
The ascension of Vibe, like the initial days of Vibe was like super magical, man.
yeah, it was like Naughty by Nature.
No, it was Tretch,
Yeah.
the iconic cover of Tretch.
Those early issues
Snoop,
of Vibe
yeah.
like hit me, you know,
Yeah.
and then the Source, you know, what Dave and those guys did in the early days, you know, was really incredible. So I think, yeah, having a parent in that world, it just interested me, you know. So
Now you worked at the Source, but you did sales, right?
yeah,
Which is completely different from, I guess, the editorial side, right?
yeah.
How
yeah.
was that for you, man?
It was an interesting run.
Did you
Just-
want to do sales?
Yeah, I mean, I came up through the sales side. I think
Right.
that was the one thing. You know, I went to school for journalism and got a journalism degree and loved writing. And you know, I wrote all through college for the local newspaper, for the student newspaper, and I had a lot of fun doing, you know, concert reviews, CD reviews, you know, stuff like that. But then
Good weed.
yeah,
Getting smoking that
yeah,
good weed.
So then I got an internship at Spin,
Right.
you know, on the business side, because I was always like, you know what, I want to have my own magazine one day.
So
I
you
don't-
knew.
I don't know how the ads get in there
Right.
and, like, you know, why. So I really got interested in the business side, and then felt like, you know, I've always done like a little bit on the side, especially in the early days of Spin when they started their website. I wrote a lot of things for that, and you know, but ultimately I think going to the Source, and I started working with all the national advertisers, like the Fords and the Cokes and the Pepsis.
So the big.
the big guys, and
Right.
I really learned at the Source during that time what those brands were about, what they wanted, you know, and how they worked. So I think I was able to like take that knowledge and then really leverage it and start positioning a no-name artist and a no-name brand like Fader, as an influencer to those brands.
Internets, this portion of the Combat Jack Show is brought to you by Heineken Subway Symphony. 20 years ago, James Murphy came up with an idea to change the harsh turnstile beeps of the New York City subway system into music. He called it the Subway Symphony. Instead of hearing this cacophony of stressful-sounding beeps, you would hear something pleasant and even calming. And during rush hour, when most people are passing through the turnstiles, this effect would be even more pronounced. For years, his idea just kind of sat there, but recently Murphy got together with Heineken. And since Heineken believes in making cities greater, they've teamed up to make Subway Symphony happen. The goal is to generate support to make Subway Symphony a reality. The turnstiles have to make a sound, so why not make a beautiful sound? Why not make beautiful music? If you want to help make Subway Symphony happen, it's really easy. Just use the hashtag Subway Symphony to share your support. Once again, that's hashtag Subway Symphony to share your support. Subway Symphony is just the first in a series of legacy projects backed by Heineken. Heineken wants to champion those who have an idea to make their city greater. So be on the lookout for more projects in cities across the country in the future. And watch the documentary of the journey to make Subway Symphony a reality and learn more about the project at subwaysymphony.com. And it doesn't hurt that Heineken is an amazingly great tasting beer. It's probably my favorite beer that I like to drink when I go to the bodega. Subway Symphony, hashtag Subway Symphony. And now back to the show. How difficult was it to get a check from these big brands, particularly in, kind of like bridging the impossible gap between corporate and hip hop?
I think it was at a time where that was, I came to the Source in 2000.
Okay.
And I think
things were changing.
Things had already flipped.
Dave and Benzino were still there.
Yeah, they were there. And I think brands, though, at the time, I mean, look, the Source at that time was selling more copies of their monthly magazine than both of Rolling Stone's issues combined on the newsstand.
Right.
About almost 500,000 copies a month. And I think brands realized, and Sprite was one of the first ones to jump on it. They realized, they jumped on the culture. Some did it right, some did it wrong. Some were co-opting it and just falling on their face. And, so I think there was a gap, and that's what, when Rob and John started Cornerstone and ultimately the Fader, I think there was a gap in the people who had the ability to kind of marry brands with cool, emerging music and no-name artists. It was easy to sign, like, Michael Jackson to Pepsi, It was easy to do things like that and cut a big check. But, it was a struggle. Like, coming to the Fader the first few years, I did like 20 meetings a day with anyone who would listen to me, running around the country, like, to these brands. And
that doesn't sound like fun, though, man.
It was not.
Right.
It was not, but I did it because I believed in it, and I felt like there was really something there, and I think there was people who laughed at me. There was people who were like, this will never happen, and then there was some brands that really, actually understood what I was at least trying to say at the time. So.
What are your memories of some of your biggest wins back then?
I mean, in the early days of Fader, I think getting some of the big car companies, because they were always the most conservative and the most looking for the biggest reach and, the most eyeballs and all that stuff. So I think getting like Chevy, and brands like that into the magazine early, and Coke, I think those were the big wins, because I'm like, here's a small Cirque magazine, that has artists that no one knows on the cover, and we were able to crack through a little bit.
Is the mindset changing with these big advertisers? Because I'm realizing, and I think most of us are realizing right now, it's not how big your reach is, it's how what's the word? How it sticks to the audience, how intimate it is with the audience, how niche it is with the audience. Is that changing in the mindset of the big advertisers?
I mean,
she's like, I don't want that question.
No, so here's the thing. I mean, look, advertisers always need reach and scale, right? And they're going to buy media. I always call it media by the pound. Where they're going to find things that have 50 bajillion, whatever's a month. Like, to me, that's all bullshit. Like, what we've been trying to do is stay pure, right, and be about quality content over quantity of content.
Right.
I think we realize we need some velocity and we need to have some speed. But at the end of the day, what separates Fader is the depth of what we do. We'll go to, like, the deep, like, favelas with Diplo and have him write a piece, on on sub genre of music. You know, I think we spend the time, resources, money, and it's really driven by passion. You know, like people like Naomi and her team that just voraciously eat music, you know, like 24/7, and they need to know what's going on. So the big brands now finally, I think, have seen like this sweet spot, and they understand now quality over quantity,
Right.
and having that balance.
Right.
I think brands today, right, also are really attracted to this idea of genreless emerging music and discovery. I think that they know that their consumers are kind of like not, you know, don't define themselves in any one way. So nobody wants to peg themselves as like, oh, we're like a rock whiskey brand or we're a hip hop car brand.
Right.
Everybody, I mean, right. So just when I'm asked to kind of help book talent on these things, I think that that's something I've noticed just sort of increase over the years, that people are really interested in this kind of like undefinable identity of their young consumers. And I think that we've positioned ourselves very nicely to kind of like help brands. Yeah.
Can you talk about Cornerstone and like, you know, how that fits in, or like how you guys fit into that universe, and just how they grew with the South by Southwest thing, man?
Yeah, I mean, well, the South by Southwest stuff, that's us. You know, that's Fader. That Cornerstone doesn't really have anything to do with that. I mean, Cornerstone, just for the understanding the relationship. So Rob and John started Cornerstone as a promotions creative agency.
Independent.
Right.
Right.
And I think what happened is in the early days of Cornerstone, Rob had some relationships with people at Sprite, because Sprite worked with some of his artists at Arista. And I think what happened is that they realized there was that space between brands and music, that the brands trying to go to artists themselves, you know, were like sticking their heads into a hornet's nest. You
That's
know?
real awkward, man.
Yeah, and you know, there was just, I mean, you guys know as well as us, like, how nuanced dealing with music is. Like, the difference between two artists, you know, they look at it, what's the difference between rapper A and B? And, like, we could be like, yo, like, there's a huge difference, right? You know, trust me. But so yeah, I think we just kind of found this ability to start a marketing company but then evolved into the Fader, which was really born out of Cornerstone. So they're run as two totally separate companies. Rob and John own both of those companies, and I think that's really the proper kind of way of how they relate to each other. But Fader is its own, you know, own kind of business, and it's has its own identity, own staff. You know, we share some office space and accounting department. So,
but you just said that South by Southwest is yours.
Yeah, but
like,
the Fader Fort,
right.
yeah, the Fader Fort we started,
which is amazing, by the way. That's the fucking place to be when you're in South by Southwest.
Thanks, man. No,
it's the fun. Most fun. I mean, there's other places that you go to, other destinations, but that's the final destination. Internets. If you've never been to South by Southwest, man, definitely go to Fader Fort, find yourself a bench, and just stay the fuck there, and the world will pass you by in a good way. You'll see everything and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's really a great culmination for everything that Fader has done and stood for. It's bringing all of these artists. You know, a big thing for Fader in the early days was live events, because you know, if I put, you know, someone that no one knows what they look like on the cover, like, what does that really mean? Especially without the internet, you know. So bringing these artists, like when MIA, we brought her over, helped her get her visa, brought her here for the first time, did a show with her at a raw space on the West Side, where there was no stage. She just performed with a mic on the ground. And I think we had just put her on the cover. She had no record deal. People were like, you know, who the hell is this?
Why is she on the cover?
Right. And I think bringing them out live. So I think the events has always been a very important thing, to be able to experience the brand, like to bring the print to life. So I think the Fort was born out of that whole mentality. And originally just was to create a space for artists to come chill before their big official shows. And you know, they started playing some music, and we're like, let's build this. And then over the past 14 years, it went from a one-room hotel suite to doing 50,000 people in 4.5 days.
Do you think it's getting like too big?
I think 2 years ago it did. Right. I think it hit a critical mass about 2 years ago.
Was that the one when Puffy was there, or was it?
No, this was the one. The year where they had the big accident at South by Southwest, and I think that was very emblematic of the influx and the overflow of people, brands, and it just felt like you're in Times Square at that point.
The spirit wasn't right.
Right. And I'd been going there. This past year was my 20th year going to South by in a row, and so I have a good feel for how it's, you know, lived and how it's evolved. And I think that year just felt weird. It felt like just too much. So then last year, there was a big dialing back. What happened is South by gave out 100 less permits for events, and they reeled it back in.
Did you have concern when they started reeling back with regard to the permits? And
Not we weren't concerned, personally for us.
'cause you run the shit, you don't give a fuck.
yeah, I would never say that.
Right. But I said it for you.
I wouldn't say that, but it's totally true.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. So I think we were actually happy about it because we felt like it would bring South by back a little bit to what it was always about. Like here's the other big thing. The other thing is that it got to the point, even with the year with the accident, where there were these giant corporate shows where Amex would bring Jay-Z out. They had Kanye, but big promoted corporate shows with a bunch of people standing around holding their phone up, like no vibe, no energy.
Nobody's tripping.
Not a party. It's not a party.
Right.
These are just like, big check deals, right? And they felt that way. And it wasn't what the spirit of South by was always about. Right. It was always about who's next. Like, first of all, there was no rap there ever until Fader started bringing rappers there.
Right.
Now it's a huge rap event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's like the premier destination.
It's dominant. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So, I think what we really wanted to do was stay true to that. And that's what the Ford has never changed. The same way the magazine has never changed. It's always been about who do we want to showcase? Like, who are the 45 or so best acts of the 1,500 that are down here, and pull them into one space. Now, the real story is that we just were getting old and lazy and didn't want to run around the city. So, let's just bring everybody to us.
Right.
So.
Can we talk about some of your covers, man? Some of your iconic covers. You guys gave Kanye the first. What was that like, man? Like talk about why Kanye at that point? And did you know? Did you guys have a sense that this guy would be such a huge star?
I'll be Rob Stone right now and tell the Kanye story.
I want to hear the Kanye story.
I think what's really interesting was at the time that we put him on the cover, he was still largely known as a producer, right? He was still that guy that nobody wanted to hear rap when he was kind of coming around. Everybody was like, Kanye, go back and do your Pro Tools or whatever. And I think that, Fader has since done that, put a lot of producers on the cover, been really first to cover producers and kind of acknowledge them as important as they are. But Kanye came up to the office and started rapping, got up on a table, kind of at 15 minutes later, the entire office was in Rob Stone's office.
But was it annoying, dude, get the fuck out, or no, dude, he's hot?
I think people were like, what? And then people were like,
both
wow.
of those things are right.
Yeah.
Right. I got a meeting after lunch. Can you leave?
So, and then, they did the story, and there's a story that one of our former editors told in this oral history of the Fader that we published as part of this 100th issue, of that, after they had shipped this issue to print, Kanye still wanted to finish the interview. He had more to say.
Really? Of course.
Which is really, I think, emblematic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but that cover was amazing. And then there's another Fader Kanye cover that was done during 808s,
Yes.
which was another point in his period or a point in Kanye's career that a lot of people are talking about now, right, that he's revisiting, but that people were confused by, didn't know what he was up to. He was sort of in this weird phase where he was blogging and talking a lot about art. And that's an amazing, story where he led us into his LA house for a couple weird days, so.
But then he ran up on Rob and I on 2nd Avenue about that cover.
What'd he say, man?
He did not like it.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he see it?
He wrote the headline on, what was his site at the time? Or is
Kanye West Universe or something like that?
Yeah, Kanye University
Yeah,
or
something
whatever.
like that, yeah.
In all caps, it said, I love the Fader, but I fucking hate this cover.
Right.
Right. So Rob and I saw him on the street with Amber one night, and he came up to us just shaking his head. He's like, man, it's like you guys made me look silly.
Right.
It was.
What was the cover
it was
again?
tame
What was the cover? It was him in the.
It was just him with these orange glasses
Right,
on,
right.
just kind of staring up. So, but we worked it out.
What was your response to him when he said that?
I was like, man, you put yourself out there, we are a magazine, we're gonna put up what we think looks best, and
we caught that moment, Kanye. We caught that moment.
Sorry, man.
So what's your relationship with Kanye now?
Our relationship with Kanye has been great. Through all of his ups and sideways and downs and craziness, I think we've always had a special place for him. He's always been an artist like a Drake and Rihanna who has really stood for what Fader's all about. The inventiveness, the ingenuity, his innovation, his, ideas, his creativity, his diversity. I think all of those things, Kanye really is an artist who I would put up there as an argument for like the one who maybe symbolizes Fader the most of any artist out there.
That's dope.
And he still, he still returns our calls.
That's hot, man.
Yeah.
What about Little B, man? I know there's a big story about Little B, man. Little
That's
B.
my boy.
Then you have him blocked? Didn't you block Little B?
We had to. I had to at one point. This was in the old days because he used to come up to the office all the time and like he would walk around just handing his mixtapes out.
Right.
And people, our security.
Did you know who he was?
No, not at all.
Did you like his rapping?
I didn't. I would just flip him in the garbage.
Right.
Like in all honesty, because I didn't know who he was. I thought it was an intern. And it was just weird. And then when Twitter kind of started doing its thing, it was like every day he was hitting me and Fader and whoever was like attached.
I need that
to
cover,
Fader.
man.
Like,
I need that cover, man. Was he asking for a
No,
cover?
he wasn't even asking for a cover. He just wanted to I think he just wanted to hang out.
Right.
He wanted to he wanted to be down. He wanted us to co-sign him, and it was interesting because then as some of our writers on staff at the time really started gravitating towards him, I think so I unblocked him and we did some really fun stuff.
Nah, Little B is special, man.
You don't want him to put any spell on you, and get that
Don't
curse.
get that
No,
curse.
I don't want that curse. No, I don't
Never.
want that.
Frank Ocean. You guys caught him at the right moment. That was his first cover, right?
Yep.
Can we talk about that?
That was another one where it was almost even like we were really approaching him as a songwriter. It was even before it was before the album came out. It was before he was really known as this front man. It was before the big Tumblr note, right?
It was before that.
Yeah. I'm
Yep.
trying to
Yeah,
not
totally.
a couple months maybe. I think that was one of those ones where it was really off the strength of one song. Thinking About You had hit the internet, that unfinished version, and we had known who he was and kind of watched him coming up on the fringes of the Odd Future crew. But that song was just one that everybody on staff fell in love with, and we felt like he was such an incredible writer, that he had this way with words, and that we really just needed to understand a little bit more. I remember that was a really quick photo shoot. That was one of the, right?
Yeah, I don't think we had the same amount of time that we're normally given
For photos. I
for
think that they
photos.
hung out for a while.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful story. I really like that one. It's still, and I think about that story, and then Frank Ocean later performed with Bon Iver at this event that we had, which was this miraculous thing that he actually came and he delivered this amazing performance. And I think of that as I just can't believe it happened, and it feels very like something that may not happen again.
I had hair before that show.
It's funny how fast the hair goes, right?
Yo,
At a certain
man,
age.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. You guys are venturing out also into other mediums. You guys are actually doing your own videos now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys started out with Amigos?
Yeah, we did. Was that the first one? Yeah, I think
The
that
first one we did was actually Awful Records. I don't know if you
Okay.
know these guys.
No, I've heard of them, but I don't know 'em.
It's like an Atlanta crew. We had hung out with them when we did a McConan story last summer, and they came up for CMJ, which is our fort in New York, and we made a video at this photo rental space with them on the street. Duncan, who's a writer at Fader, is in the video. That video is amazing. But then shortly after we went and hung out with Migos in Paris.
That's a nice video, man.
Did that video.
That's
Migos
a
are great.
video.
Who hung out? You hung out in Paris?
Listen, man, I'm doing a really bad job in my post of sending myself on nice trips.
Yeah,
I have
you need
to say.
to.
Yeah.
But I don't make videos, so I wasn't out there. But
Right.
that was incredible. They went to Paris and Amsterdam, and then I think we also the best, or one of the sort of biggest video we did this year that I think was a culmination of an amazing relationship we've had. Somebody who we did their first cover was we went down to Atlanta and did a Future video, sort of right as 56 Nights was dropping. And I think that really, for us, teed off this amazing campaign that he's had for the second half of the year.
The most views we ever had on a Fader video was about 1 million. We're at 25 million.
Jesus fucking Christ. Right.
Yeah.
That's
It's-
nice.
It's a trap.
Shout out to Future.
Yeah, that's nice, man.
Trap and then a word I don't use.
Yeah, okay. Trap ends.
Yeah.
Right. Any regrets?
I'm on.
Any regrets in terms of people you could have put on the cover that things fell through, shit,
I mean, Naomi could take that one, but what I would say about that is we do the best we can, right? Given that we're playing in a space almost of gambling, right? We're putting someone out there that we believe in. We don't do it in the hopes that this person's going to be the next, Rihanna or Drake. We do it because we love what they're doing at the time. A lot of times it hits and it's great, and sometimes it doesn't, but I don't think that we consider those real failures. I think there are certain artists too that for whatever reason, at that time period when we have a 2-month planning cycle, like, just, we can't make it work for whatever reason or not, and then we miss it.
Right.
So,
you guys ever walk away from a cover because it might be too controversial?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not in my experience.
No.
I don't think we've ever walked away from a cover midstream yet in my time, which I think is like a credit to the artists that we've worked with as well.
yeah.
I mean, things just working out. I think they're increasingly now. I mean, I find right now that I feel we only do so many covers a year, and I feel often that I'm saying no to artists that I would like to say yes to.
Right.
And I think the big struggle for me, or the big challenge for me that I hope to change, is that, I want people to feel just as excited about doing a feature story on our website as they might be doing our cover or doing a video documentary with us. I think that sometimes, especially now that so many albums have this short runway promo, it's really hard to plan out, and I don't want our covers to always be pegged to albums. I really just want to tell the stories that we want to tell, and I think it's a challenge for me to really pitch people and explain to them that when we're doing something for our website, if we're going to put money behind it, if we're going to put people behind it, it's going to be the same quality product, and that we want to do that more than 12 times a year.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're at right now, is really trying to bring more people into this.
It's something you just said that I subscribe to here at the Combat Jack Show. I hate interviewing. I mean, I'll take them when I can, but I hate interviewing artists during their album cycle. Like, I want to interview artists when it's their downtime, but the mindset, the way, the rhythm of the industry is like, dude, we're doing our press run right. I don't want to fucking do the press runs because I think it's counterintuitive to what we do.
And that's been huge for Fader, right? Is like, I mean, a part of the sort of like the talk we have with people at the beginning of this cover cycle is explaining to them that we don't want to talk. We cannot visit radio stations with you.
Right.
We do not want to
That shit
meet
is
you in
corny.
your label's conference room.
Right.
And that's a big, I mean, I think we understand that interviews happen that way, but for these cover stories, which are sort of our like the biggest gift that we can give, or the most real estate that we have, like, it's very important for us to see somebody's real life. And I think that can mean a lot of different things. It doesn't always mean going to somebody's house or hanging out by their pool or whatever.
Watch them make pancakes.
It can mean a lot of, I mean, I
The
remember
blueberries on top.
one, my favorite, honestly, one of my favorite Fader stories ever is when we went with French Montana to Morocco. It was his
Amazing.
incredible story.
Fucking story.
And to his team's credit, right, I believe that it was kind of an idea hatched by us all, this like,
Right.
crazy scheme, and I can't believe that it
Was that
actually happened.
did he really meet?
He really had his trip planned,
Right.
and he really and we were really there for all of
Right.
it, for him getting ice cream, at night, and riding a camel, and meeting his father for the first time. And,
He met his
like,
he met his
spoke
father
about
for the
that.
first
Yeah, he
time.
spoke
Yeah.
about that.
And I remember, something that we look at a lot is like, I think on the internet, and people read now on their phones all the time, it's like, how many minutes are people actually reading these stories for? Like, I love when things have gotten shared a lot and clicked on a lot, but ultimately it's really satisfying for me to see that people
How
on their
engaged.
phones
Right.
are looking at something for 8
Right,
minutes.
right.
And I remember with that story, and credit to Zach Barron, who's an incredible writer who works at GQ now, but like, just, that was a story that was really written. Anybody could have read it. Anybody could have connected with it. And so many people really read through the whole thing, and I think that saw French Montana in a new light. And for us, that's all we want to do, right? Is like kind of elevate people to the level, to show people how substantial these characters really are. And oftentimes, right, that's a story that goes completely beyond music. That French Montana story barely touched on his music,
Yep.
and I think that,
Those are the best stories.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Those are the
often.
best stories.
I think another part of that whole puzzle is the photography, and our approach to photography has never been like, yo, get your cane and your pimp hat, and here's the
Get the cup, pimp
Bentley.
cup.
Yeah, it's really, we call it, and we call it like Fader is almost National Geographic, because we want to capture artists in their own environment, whether it's in the studio or backstage at a show, or in a car going somewhere, or I always use the example, we did a story a long time ago on Atlanta, and we had a photo of Bubba Sparks pushing the garbage can down his driveway. And I think that that's the thing that artists relate to as well, is that everything is done in like a very natural, organic way. It's not these big staged things with like all kinds of props, and I think the photography is another big way we like to tell these stories.
Last question. Top 5 covers.
I would say I'll go. I think Miles Davis, when we did our Icon issue, that photo that Anton Corbin took had never really been released out of his private collection. He gave it to us for the cover. That's one of the most striking images I think I've ever seen. Like, I could close my eyes and see it, like down to the detail. I think, there's different reasons for the covers being in like a top 5. I think we have one issue where we had the White Stripes on one side and the Neptunes with Pharrell and Chad on the other side. I think that I would put that as like 2 and 3 because it was both of their first covers. I think one of my top 5 was Kendrick because I also think we nailed a moment, like a huge pending moment with him and his whole Black Hippie crew and TDE. They gave us like access that I don't think they've ever given before or since. And then what else? What would be?
We're at 3.
Think of it. Yeah, we're at 3. Man,
got 2 more.
I think the Frank Ocean cover.
Yes,
is definitely
big,
one of my
big,
favorites. Yeah. And then this year, I don't know. You know what? I love the Young Thug cover.
It's a good cover.
I love the way it was shot. He's such an interesting looking character. The whole dynamic of the setup of that, the way that looked.
That was a good piece also.
Another one
it was
that
a good piece. Like he was in.
I love that.
Was he in his house or was he in his bando? Like where the fuck was he?
He was at Pee Wee's house.
Yeah.
And then they were at Metro's house too.
Okay.
I remember Metro Boomin being really upset that we called him out on his house being messy.
Yeah, because the weed all over.
Not upset.
Messy Boomin?
Messy Boomin. Yeah.
No, now he's clean.
He's clean, right? How about you?
Oh man, I think for me that Lil B cover story actually, which was also kind of an Odd Future story, was a real moment. I think that was an excellent piece, just like such an encompassing story. Tego Calderon Beanie Man was one that I remember reading when I was like, before I worked at Fader. That was really, I think that is really emblematic of how Fader has always been like a truly global brand, kind of like a real New York brand.
And low key, that's one of the best selling issues in
Really?
the history of Fader. Very, very surprising.
Internationally or domestically?
Just in total.
Wow.
Is Rick Rubin on the other side of that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Also a really good story.
That's a good one.
Oh man, I think I'm really this year I was really proud of the Migos cover that we did.
That's a
I
good
thought
one.
that the photos were beautiful, and I thought that the story was really again like just kind of bigger than you thought it might be. I'm like, who's a lady that I want to shout out right now?
I know, no ladies.
No, we got lots of ladies.
We really
No, I'm
have.
saying, but
we've
we
gone very over the past couple of years, man. Like a lot of female artists.
You got Janelle Monáe on there yet?
No.
No, that's never been a Fader cover.
That'd be dope.
I think like it's what we did a Carrie Hilsley cover a million years
yeah,
ago.
Yeah.
Santi Gold. There's been lots of good ones.
Santi Gold.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Kanye really is the defining Fader cover, because I think that at that moment, really was a moment.
I think the Aaliyah icon issue,
Yes,
actually, that is a collector's one. I think that's one that I remember. Some of the photos in there are like photos that I just remember seeing for the first time. Photos of her with her best friend that are just like some of, I don't know, really amazing memories. And a lot of people, Missy spoke for that. Tim spoke for that.
That's dope.
Really like, I think now we've all heard a million Aaliyah stories. It's like somebody in our 100th issue, we did an interview with a writer, and he said, if I knew that I was going to get sick of people making Aaliyah reference points, if that's where writing was going to go, I would be so surprised. But
That's crazy.
at the time, that was a big story.
And I got the reception buzzed my desk one day, and they said, I don't know if this is real, but someone saying they're Aaliyah's mother is on the phone.
Really?
Yeah, so I took...
How do you answer that? Are you like, shit, did we fuck up? Like,
I'm not going to lie. I was like, fuck.
right.
I'm like, what the hell is this going to be about?
Yeah.
Like, is this going to be good or bad?
Because there's been so much controversy with regard to people jumping onto her legacy.
Yeah, that and, a lot of family drama and, all kinds of stuff that everybody could go read on the internet. But, it turned out it was a very positive call. She was very happy with the story. She felt we did, Aaliyah a lot of justice.
That's dope.
I think she was very emotional about it, so there was some crying and there was some laughing, and it was a very nice conversation ultimately. But that's something that has happened a bunch of times. I mean, Frank Ocean's mom called, to thank us and, wanted to know where she could go buy a copy. I think we could hook you up.
Has anyone ever demanded that you take the cover down?
No, the only thing that's happened after, like as a postscript when we release a drop a cover is sometimes, I'm not going to name names, but this is funny. Sometimes some of the rappers, like for whatever reason, have their girlfriends or their second girlfriends or their third girlfriends like in their apartments, like at these photo shoots.
Side pieces.
And then we print it.
Right.
And then they kind of roll up on me like,
why the fuck you got my side piece in it?
and we're like, yo,
why was she at the shoot?
Feature story for a national publication. So
I got to go back and look through some issues.
Yeah. So that I would say there's a solid 3 of those.
Awesome.
And then one time, we mentioned some areas of where certain artists' family lived,
Right.
and they did not.
I can understand. Your proudest moment, Andy.
Oh man, up until Fader 100, at putting Usher with the Afghan Wigs together at South by Southwest was personally like one of the most fun things I've ever gotten to work on. But I mean, it's Fader 100 right now is really been very satisfying on a lot of levels. It's been a real hard struggle, and Naomi has not slept in about 4 months. Her team, has been busting their ass 24/7. You
go hard, Naomi.
Yeah, she does, man. And our whole
I
team,
do.
down to like the mailroom, the interns, like it took a monumental effort. And I have to say this is definitely one of our proudest moments. I mean, and we're not big on the self-congratulatory stuff. We've never done an issue like this before.
With a shit.
Yeah,
and
never
fuck
been like
you
a,
and-
hey, congratulate us on stuff.
Right.
Like, it almost feels weird, but it felt right for us at this point. 16 years being dedicated to emerging music and no-name artists and being, being at the forefront. I think we were able to take a little step back and do something big.
You know what's amazing? I got a subscription to Fader, and I think what's amazing is when every issue comes, my 17 and 18-year-olds go crazy as to whose issue it is. Like, they fight over the fucking issue, and to having teenagers, how these kids are jaded and they're into their own scene, and seeing something that I'm into that gets them more excited is amazing, man. So congratulations, man.
Thank you. And thanks so much for having us.
Thank you guys, and congratulations, Internets, Andy Cohn and Naomi Zeichner
Yes.
of Fader 100. Congratulations, guys.
Appreciate that, guys. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Cheer.
Internets, this portion of the Combat Jack Show is brought to you by FanDuel. Yo, let's take this break right here and talk about FanDuel. I told you before about FanDuel, but I hear not enough of you have signed up. And y'all are making me look bad with these fine people that are trying to support the Combat Jack Show. It's not enough to say you fuck with the show. You got to support its sponsors, too. And FanDuel is a great place to start because FanDuel is paying a lot of money to you motherfuckers this NFL season. Specifically, FanDuel payouts are more than any other site. I'm talking about over $75 million a week this football season. Last year, fucking Joe Watson from New York turned a $50 deposit into over $30,000, bitches, in 2 weeks playing fantasy football on FanDuel. Are you fucking kidding me? And you're sitting out not listening to this fucking thing and going and playing FanDuel? Join him and the over 1 million other users who have already won money. In fact, it's easy. Let me show you how to do this, son. We're setting up a private league this weekend just for Combat Jack Show listeners. Go to fanduel.com/combat and create your team today so you can play against me, Premium, Jonathan Mena, and A. King that's about to get in the room right now. 50 of us in the league. So make sure you sign up ASAP. Plus, with us in the league, all the New York Giants about to go fast. If you want Eli, not Peyton, on your team, you better sign up before I grab him. Pause. And no matter who you grab, pause, building a team is just as easy. Pick your players, stay under the salary cap, and sit back on Sunday and watch your team win. Entry fees start at just $1, and anybody can play here. Go to fanduel.com and click the microphone in the upper right-hand corner. Use my code COMBAT, COMBAT, and sign up right now. And for the private league, go to fanduel.com/combat. Special offer for new users. For every $1 you deposit, FanDuel will match it up to $200 that gets earned as you play. That's a bonus of up to $200. Offer is only good for the first 50 people that use my code COMBAT, COMBAT, today. Don't forget to use my code COMBAT, FanDuel.com, where every day is a new season. That's FanDuel.com. Sign up today and get this good money. Don't ever say I didn't give you shit. Get this money right now. And now back to the show. Internets, you're tuned into the Combat Jack Show. What's up, Pete?
What's going on, Combat?
Man, I just feel real conscious right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So ridiculous.
Because we're sitting right here
Okay.
with the world's greatest, most conscious rapper and producer that was ever formulated on the planet of consciousness.
The conscious planet.
We got the most conscious. You know what? This episode is just called Consciousness. Yo, Internets, let's welcome to the Combat Jack Show, Talib, Kweli, and Ninth Wonder. Yay! Yo, what's up, yo?
We're like conscious superheroes.
Yo, man, what?
Captain Planet
Yo.
and his trusty sidekick.
Formulated.
I have such
conscious man.
I have such an issue with the term consciousness.
Really? Tell me.
You know why?
No, tell me why.
And then maybe we'll talk about some of the recent events that's been going on with you. I had somebody once come up to me and say, yo, man, you're the most conscious brother I know.
Who?
And I'm not going into it. But I felt it was like from where they were coming from,
Right.
they were giving me props, but it was at the same time, I thought they were putting me in a corner because there's so many layers right now in 2015 of what conscious means, what conscious rapper or conscious producer means. As a matter of fact, I read that when people say that, it's kind of like you're not relevant. You know what I'm saying? Or you don't have teeth, like, motherfucker, I won't smack the shit out of you.
I think it depends on who's saying it.
It depends on who's saying it, but because of who's saying it,
Right.
a lot in terms of when they delineate who is who.
I mean, well, you know, me and Knife, we have this album together, Indy 500.
Okay.
One
It's
of
not
the
called a conscious album?
yes, that's
Knife, what up, Knife? What
Indy
up, my
500?
nigga, Knife?
What up, man?
Yo, let's smoke this key tonight, my nigga.
They said smoking key.
Word up. Let Knife. We gonna get into when I took Knife to the Hurricane Chris concert.
Oh, word.
He loved it. But on this album, me and Rhapsody got a song
Nice.
called Every Ghetto, produced by High Tech. And one of my lyrics is, they think consciousness mean a nigga ain't rugged until you get beat within an inch of it. Self-made niggas don't get discovered. And of course, you know, consciousness in music is something we come from.
Yes.
We all gentlemen of a certain age, like fine wine, you know, and you remember.
And a certain cloth, too.
Yeah, certain cut
Definitely
from
a
a
certain
curtain cloth. And you know, we see the world and we remember certain discussions that happened in our communities before the internet.
Yes.
And when everyone just didn't jump into your discussion, you had to be down by law. And because you had to be down by law, you had to be active in the community. You know, the first hip hop records, the first great MCs were all cut from that conscious rapper cloth. When you talk about Melly Mel and KRS-One and even Big Daddy Kane was a 5%er. You know what I'm saying? Rakim, you couldn't, up until Nas, right after Nas, Biggie was the first rapper that didn't have to have such a high degree of what we consider consciousness to be considered one of the greats.
But I'm a counter you on that. Biggie might not have had the consciousness.
That's why I said such a level.
But the level of his artistry, that brother had some innate consciousness.
And that's why I said he was first artist to not have the same level as a KRS-One because it was there.
Right.
The consciousness was there, but it was the consciousness of your surroundings rather than wearing your Afrocentricity on your sleeve.
Yes.
50 Cent once said it. Motherfucker, I'm awake, I'm conscious.
That's right.
You know what that means? You know, it's you know, that comes from the whole boxes thing, trying to put things in boxes. People like to put things in boxes to make themselves feel comfortable. That's what that is. But it has nothing to do whether you've been to college or not. It's
or read the Quran, or
that's right.
if you God body or
none of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I grew up in Winston, North Carolina, and you know, all the dope dealers I knew was smart. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was smart cats. It had nothing to do with did you have a college degree or whatever. They were intelligent people. You know what I mean? And so it has nothing to do with just, okay, I'm a backpacker, because backpackers existed in '93, but they ain't carry books in them. They carried guns. You know?
and then the box cutters.
Yeah, box cutters, right.
Right.
And
you
a
know,
snack.
Black Moon was some of the first backpackers because they had a backpack on with some
Shout
other
out
shit in it.
to Kenyatta.
That's right. So the whole conscious box was kind of formed later on, you know, and all these different boxes or whatever, but it has nothing to do with you know, being a Rhodes Scholar or anything like that, or you saving the whales or none of this shit.
Now I've heard I've heard some conscious rap recently from Ross. You know, when Ross goes in his lane, it wasn't no caterpillars. It was a whole bunch of niggas.
Fam.
You know what I'm saying?
That last Ross mixtape, he always been crazy picking beats anyway.
Yeah.
But now you hear a certain type of, I'm awake now. I'm awake. I actually see what's going on. I'm still a street nigga, but still, you know, and I got street niggas, but still I have a different level of
awareness.
Awareness.
Yes.
I just saw the Waka Flocka interview. Same
thing.
Situation. Like, this is what it is, and it ain't got nothing to do with being conscious. It's got something to do with being grown, goddamn.
Experience, knowledge, wisdom, then understanding. You got to have the knowledge first. You get to the understanding last.
Nigga college, it don't matter.
But Talib, man, because people want to force this term on you, what's your relationship with that word, man?
I mean, I love it. You
Right.
know, like, I agree with everything Nice said, of course, because it's the truth. You know, being a conscious MC is something that is a beautiful thing, but I have to remind people that it's not the end all be all of what I do.
Right.
Just like if you describe Jay-Z, you want to say Jay-Z the gangster rapper. Is he a gangster rapper?
Nope, I don't categorize him as
Well,
that.
has he made some gangster ass music?
Of course.
Right, but you don't categorize because you know better.
Right.
But the mainstream media, who has one relationship with Jay-Z, they say gangster rapper.
Mm-hmm.
So the conscious label with me comes from the mainstream media putting me in a box and only having one relationship with me. They know me from Get By, maybe. They know me because Jay and Ye said my name. They don't know how to process just the nuances or just the layers of everything that come with me. So they have to come up with, okay, that's conscious rap. He's conscious. The same way they would just put Jay-Z in a box. Be like, that's just gangster rap. You know, some people take their cues from the mainstream media, from how corporations and labels have gotten with the media to present this hip-hop, instead of really understanding the rudiments of it and understanding that really as MCs, as young black men, you know, when you talk about Jay-Z, that's a young black man from Brooklyn. There's so many more similarities than there are differences in what we do, but people, it's our human nature to play up the differences and look for negative ways to describe things.
Then you got a generation of kids now who believe that if you say so many words in a sentence, that means you conscious.
So lyrical miracle.
Yeah, lyrical miracle.
Definitely means
right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? If you say a bunch of, you can be talking about dope. It don't matter. I mean, they thought then the way your beat sound, it may be you may be seen as conscious. Like for a long time, you got people that thought that Slum Village was a conscious group.
Right.
And they talked about menage a trois more than anybody.
What's,
you know what I mean?
what's up with that three screw?
What's up with that three screw? Right. Exactly.
Jay Dilla rapped exclusively about smoking blunts, driving a Jeep,
Sex.
going to the strip club,
Fuck the police.
fuck the police.
All the greatest things in the fucking world.
Detroit shit, man. It's Detroit shit.
You know, but I'm
What's up, Pete?
What's going on, Talib?
but I'm torn though because I hate that term because of I think it.
Do you hate it because of the connotation?
I hate it because of the connotation and maybe the subtle intention to once again take away relevancy and take away the teeth and the fangs.
See, I think we got to be cognizant of that, of people who love the culture.
Right.
People who contribute actively to the culture. We have to push back against that.
Right.
We should own that word, though. You know, we should own that
course,
word.
of
The
course.
same way like you be on Twitter and they be calling people hoteps on Twitter.
Yeah.
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
But
I'm one of those.
yeah, but at the end of
Ho's gonna tap. But
yeah, but at the end of the day, hotep is a great word.
Of course.
And it means, and if you know better, you can make fun of it.
Of course.
If you know better.
Yes.
We can make fun of. There's a lot of whack conscious rappers.
Of course.
I go to
A lot.
I go to the rallies and I'll go to the events, the community events. At any given community event, you will find a conscious rapper who solely exists in that space, who shows up at every event to rap at the community event because that's the only place he gets love because he's whack.
And he got CDs.
Yeah, there are conscious rap fans who be like, fuck Drake, fuck Future. That exists.
And he's handing out CDs.
Yeah,
Nigga, don't hand me no CDs. Don't hand me not a fucking CD in
but see,
2015.
that doesn't represent what we talking about. That's the fringe. Just like there's a lot of trap rappers who are whack. There's a lot of trap rappers who are not Jeezy, who are not T.I., who are not Migos, who are not Future, who are not the upper echelon, the cream of the crop of what they do, who just riding the wave trying to get in where they fit in. That's whack too.
Of course. But I'm torn because we had Eric Sermon here a couple of weeks ago. And he can't. I mean, Eric is so brilliant with his relationship with music and the culture. And his gripe was that he feels what's holding hip hop back in 2015 is every other genre has subcategories or subgenres, and hip hop is the only one where they might throw consciousness around or the conscious rap or gangster rap or trap rap, but there's no delineation. It's all rap. And he was like, he felt that the genre, the greater genre, would blossom if we had subgenres so that people knew where to place. How do y'all feel about that?
Because you're dealing with a generation now, and I'm not only talking about young people, I'm talking about just people, period. The way the internet is, the way Spotify and all of this stuff, you're dealing with a generation of people, the zeitgeist of the time, where people don't know how to make choices for themselves. When we had 5 channels or 6 channels, and you can only get some off the radio or CD, you go out and make your own choices.
Right.
Now you got a TV with 500 channels on there. You can DVR everything, and you got all these social media, it's stuff coming from all different ways. So you got to be able to put stuff in a box,
right?
Just so you can keep it all in line. We looked at everything in the early '90s as rap.
As
it was
rap.
the rap section in the store, and it had alphabetical order. It'd be Too Short, then A Tribe Called Quest. I mean, there wasn't no different. You know what I mean? But now you're kind of gonna have to do that.
So you agree in the sense that in 2015 the game has changed.
You gotta kind of do, because now you have a whole section of rappers who are making up their own style. Like, there's a difference from what Kweli does as rhyming and what Fetty Wap does as rhyming.
Right.
Not necessarily from a subject matter, but just the way he's like sing rapping.
Stylistically,
the production, everything.
Different.
Right.
Everything
It's different.
is different. It's a whole different genre. Like, it's alternative rock, classic rock. It's just a whole different genre. Not say it's good
metal
or bad.
rock, speed rock.
Right, and you don't compare
Exactly.
a metal group to an alternative rock group,
Right.
and to see who's better.
Right.
You know,
And that's what he was saying. He was saying because of, particularly right now, because of the momentum of, like, say, trap, you know, all other subgenres are getting sucked up under that, and it doesn't really help
you're right.
the culture.
And the fans and the people on the blogs who have no understanding of the culture, they look into everything through a trend-colored lens. And if it doesn't fit what's trendy at the moment, they're being dismissive of it, like it's not, like as if it had nothing to do with what you
It's
see.
not dope. Right.
Yeah, like it's not dope, or like it didn't. If that didn't happen, then this would happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that is a problem. When you first mentioned the Eric Sermon thing, I tend not to agree with that. But when you break it down and look at how other genres grew, it has to be like that.
Right.
My initial gut reaction is, nah, like it's either it's dope or it's not.
Because
Like,
we come from an era where there was no...
right. And I'm biased. I have certain experiences. I've traveled the world. I've seen things that allow me to be able to look at it and take it all in and look at, okay, well, he was born in Atlanta. He's only 20. Why should he sound like he was born in 75 in Brooklyn? He shouldn't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So what was it recently about this whole situation with Complex that really got you engaged with Noah Callahan Bever and Angel Diaz and the whole nine?
Yeah, Complex and other blogs have made a habit of consistently being dismissive of conscious hip hop. It's a punchline for them. And they did it, they do it all the time, whether they mention me or not. But 2 years ago, they did it, and they did a list of 30 things wrong with hip hop. Number 7 was conscious rap is condescending and corny. Now, the point that they made.
This is the piece by David Drake.
Yes.
Who's a good guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Point they made, I agreed with certain aspects of the point. Not all of them, but certain aspects. What I definitely didn't agree with was having a picture of me and Mos Def up there. Because I feel
Being
like,
the poster child of...
yeah, I feel like there's nothing I do that's condescending or corny.
Right.
So you need to qualify why my picture's up there. And David Drake was like, you're right. It was unfair of me to use your picture because that's not how I see you.
Right.
But we had an interview, and he apologized to me on the phone and in the interview.
He's it's funny. I didn't even want to go on a tangent, but I've had like separate interactions with that dude, and he's a really... Didn't he just leave Complex?
I don't know.
I think he just... But he's a stand-up cat, man.
But I
anyway.
respected that, and
Right.
I felt like when him and whoever did that with them, they follow him. They being trendy. It's cool. There's a cool thing now on the internet to say you don't like Nas, which to me is sacrilegious. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, it's cool to say I'm dumb as shit and I'm ignorant and I don't know shit, and anybody who's talking about shit, I don't want to hear it.
Fuck a book.
Yeah, that's some cool shit. We'll get over that. But this is just, I've seen enough seasons in my life to know this is just a thing. But that's where we at right now. So
Veteran.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So I saw the thing on Complex. I said something about it on Twitter, and then I left it alone. 2 years later, you doing the same thing, bro.
Same exact thing.
The same exact thing with a different writer. And so I thought it was funny. So my first tweet to Complex was, I said, you need to stop hiring these lame ass groupie writers. And I put the smiley faces and LOL. And then I seen Lupe, whose name was also mentioned.
And Lupe don't play, man.
And Lupe came with the bitch out the gate. Like, you a bitch. This is some bitch shit. I agree with that. He is a bitch. There was some bitch shit. But people already look at me like I'm fiery on Twitter anyway. So I was like, I didn't say nothing like that. But what happened was the kid, whatever his name, Angel, whatever his name was.
He doubled down.
He did the opposite of David Drake. And he doubled down on a lot of dumb shit. The idea that me and Lupe's music doesn't work at a barbecue, whatever that's supposed to mean, or the idea that he's just dissing conscious rap fans as if the epidemic right now in hip hop is people don't like Drake. Drake is fine. Future's fine. You ever been to a Future show recently?
They bounce. The whole thing is bouncing.
Yeah, the crowd is starting a riot outside before Future even shows up.
Right.
Future don't need your help, bruh. Future's okay. It's not an epidemic. Like, I don't see nothing about police brutality on Complex, the clickbait site. I don't see nothing about that's an epidemic.
But that's because what I'm getting, what's so crazy to me is talking to some of these young bloggers and personalities. And I had a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago, just a casual conversation. And they were like, black dude, he was like, yeah, but I can't really be out here saying Black Lives Matter because you know how I look crazy.
Because he's a coward.
And I looked at the motherfucker. I was like,
cowards,
really?
B. I hope
Like,
I hope
really?
the dude who said that to you was listening so he can
he's
hear me
listening?
say that he's a motherfucking coward.
And I was like, for real, this is your moment. Like, I'm old. I'm way older than this is your fucking moment.
That's right.
And you're not gonna run with that shit.
But beyond even the hashtag Black Lives Matter, the fact
Which is the most.
Yeah.
That's the safest thing you could do right now.
Beyond that hashtag, there's some real issues going on in our community that Complex is in a position. Angel Diaz is in a position to write about. And you choose the thing that's bothering you the most is rap purists who are on the fringes. On the fringes. These rap purists you talking about, they don't even support the rap that they claim to like.
Right.
This is what's bothering you so much that you have to write an article dissing me and Lupe? Like, and then when I don't talk about nobody on Twitter before I research who they are because I don't like to get into unless I know who you are. I ain't coming at you.
Right.
So I researched.
You're smart.
I researched dude a little bit, and I seen that he was a hype beast. Definitely. You a fan of like MF Doom and people like that. You was late to Drake. So now you write an article to yourself. I was at Drake's SOB shows before he got signed. I was listening to early mixtapes. I put Kanye on the road before Complex and all these blogs because I look at shit for talent.
Drake is a little brother disciple.
That's right. Drake is a little brother disciple, shouting him out on records and all that. We was on that just because you discovered Drake. Now you got to diss rap fans who like me and Lupe.
Or you feel that now Drake represents your generation.
It's like a
that
dude
you got to
that
claim.
He's 33, bro.
It's like a dude that been fucking off all this time and decided to go to church and want to stand on the corner with his Bible.
Right.
That's
Right.
Like Jaheim in that picture with
You know
the
what I'm
purple
saying?
suit.
It's like,
Right.
I done went out here and I done did this with this woman and that woman and da. We all looking around like you
Like
was
y'all-
tripping. I wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, man, a lot, y'all know, man, a lot of these blogs, a lot of these bloggers, a lot of these new sites, some of them are cool. Some of them treat black people like, well, let's follow this black dude to the hood and
Right.
watch him live in his natural habitat.
Right,
How many
We ain't
black
really about that life?
writers do Complex have? I asked that on the internet. No one answered me.
You know what? It's funny, and this is no shots against Complex, but I was just looking through, doing research for this episode. I was looking through all their writers and what their favorite sneakers are. No, what their favorite albums for the 90s
I read
were.
that because
And
I did my research.
And I was like, hold up, man. Like, after a while, and I'm cool with
Of course.
once again, Complex.
Powered by Complex.
I'm not throwing shots, but it did feel funny when I only saw one recognizable
One out of how many?
black face out of like and what's up, Russ Bankston? What's up, Noah? What's up, everybody?
Well, Russ
but
Benson is not black, but
no, I'm not.
Or he's
saying,
shouting them out because
I'm shouting them out.
No.
But I only saw one black, and that
out of how many though?
it must have been like 12,
Right.
10 to 12 or
you
something.
mean
like that.
writers?
So less
Yeah,
than
that right-
10% black, and
Yes.
you're writing about black culture. Hip hop is black culture. Is Latino culture from the Bronx, and people are all hip hop is the most beautiful thing on the planet because it unites all races. Hip hop is the most unifying thing that we've ever seen.
Yes.
Hip hop has united more races, cultures, sexual orientation, religion than anything on this planet. So I am in no way. I'm not even a hip hop purist. I don't think hip hop should include anybody.
Right.
But when someone feels the need to throw me and Lupe under the bus, and then we come back at him and he changes his hashtag name or whatever to all rap matters, like now you clowning, son. Like
Right.
I don't even care that y'all don't talk about real issues in Complex. Y'all don't have to
Yeah,
because
that
I'm a
might not be a thing.
But you gonna clown? You know what I'm saying? You a culture vulture, bro. You have no business in this culture. You think because you bought some Jordans, you like Drake, that you know this culture. You don't know shit.
I thought the article was kind of contradictory though, because if you can't be saying I don't listen to Kweli or Lupe, whoever at a cookout, and then turn around and say all rap matters, because all raps matter.
All rap matters. You
All-
gotta listen to
all
everything
rap works
at a
at a
barbecue,
cookout.
right?
Well, those people probably don't get the right food on the barbecue anyway.
And then you
They don't
turn around.
season the food, right?
Yeah, they didn't season.
And then you turn around the next day and you write a list of Kweli songs that you could play at a barbecue to prove that you a Kweli fan. He
Right.
says to me on the Twitter when I hit him up, I'm a fan, I bought your album, but I thought I rapped off beat. Which one is it? Can you
Right.
play me at a barbecue or not?
Right. I mean, I think, this is the first time that I really saw them doubling back to make
Yeah,
this
that was
thing,
corny as fuck.
make this thing make sense. But
Right. And
but
it
I mean,
doesn't.
But these are conversations that need to happen, and I wasn't even going to go there. But you pointed it out, man. Like I said, guys at Complex, it doesn't feel good when I look at your editorial staff, the guys that are out there. Maybe things have changed. Maybe that was just that one particular piece, but it doesn't feel good to me. Somebody that you guys have always shown love to, and somebody that I've always shown love to.
That's right. I show a lot of love to Complex.
That I don't see more of my people talking about the culture.
I've been up to Complex offices multiple times, doing different things with different people. I do know that they have a diverse, amount of people there, meaning black, Latino, white, there is, I don't know about writers,
right?
But I seen Noah come back and write something back to
Right.
you. I mean, I know, from what I know of Noah, I know he's a genuine dude from what I know. I don't know how'd you take that response back and what he wrote back to you?
I mean, me and Noah got history, as he said in his response. And in his response, he said to me, we talked about the Black Star album in his review. He said on Twitter, he said, you know what? You're right. It was unfair of me to compare you to Jesus. So that was you being a hype beast back then. So now you defending this hype beast writer because he's your man. I get it. Y'all got a relationship that's beyond him and Angel Diaz got to have a relationship that's way beyond Kweli that exists whether I'm mad at Angel Diaz or not. So I feel like as an editor, he was defending his writer. That's my man. There's people who are friends of mine that, I might in public defend them and then in private be like, nah, you was tripping.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did that, but I feel like his defense of that was wrong. I feel like he was...
This is satire. This is sarcasm. Like, take it.
Right.
Like ease up a little bit. Don't be so tight.
Well, no, he defended...
Right.
He defended things... Like, one, it's not factual that no one could play Kweli music. That's just not a fact.
Right.
Why are you writing about Kweli flaws in an article? There's a lot of bullshit. Why is your first line is I'm sick of all you old head lyrical motherfuckers? And an editor should have... Why is the pull quote about me and Lupe? Why is that the pull quote? There's a lot of editorial things that I felt like was wrong. And I felt like he had no business defending it. But the way that Noah defended it was a respectful way. He didn't defend it like a 14-year-old on Facebook like your man Angel did. But Noah's still wrong because if you defend a culture vulture, you are an accessory to that crime. You are complicit. And Noah got upset. I said, yo, if you defend that, you the same thing. He said, I'm a culture vulture now? Well, yeah, you are. Bruh, you are. And you might, Pete respects you.
Damn.
Combat Jack respects you. Lupe respects Noah. But look, if you was wrong about the Black Star album in 1998, it's not that much of a stretch to feel like you may be wrong about Angel right now. And you wrong, bruh.
Now you've been placed in a difficult position all throughout your career. Even when you and Mos came out as Black Star, cats were trying to pitch you against the Diddy's of the day and the Jay-Z's of the day. And you guys were like, yo, you worked for Puff, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's like it goes back to the point I was saying about understanding the similarities more than differences.
Right.
Look. I'm a rap fan. I'm not a rap fan out of convenience.
Right.
I'm a fan of hip hop when it's ugly, when it's beautiful. I'm a fan of hip hop when it's violent.
You got no choice.
And when it's peaceful.
You have no choice.
I'm a fan.
You're hip hop.
That's right. So yeah, there's songs that Mos Def made that I don't like.
Right.
There's songs that Future made that I don't like. There's songs that Future made that I love. There's songs that Ninth Wonder made that I love. Like, it's like I don't...
There's songs that Little B made that I love.
That's right. One of them was produced by Ninth Wonder featuring Jean Grey.
Woo!
Shit.
Wait, hold on. Let me just like take a detour. Can you tell us about that session, man?
Yeah, tell us about that.
How did you get my man to get bars into that song? Because Little B has become the butt of the joke for a lot of people.
Right.
In terms of his lyrical acumen, but he came to the table with some bars, B.
I guess that's the misconception about hip hop, man. Like, I don't care where you're from or who you are. You know what bars is. You know what they are, pretty much. You know how to rhyme. You either. I'm probably, as a rapper starting off, I'm probably one of the most YouTubed beat cats on YouTube. Most cats, whether it be Lil B, whether it be Kurt Cobain's, Young Burt, all of these cats come up to me like, yo, I love your beats, man. You were the first dude I was rapping on his beats on YouTube. So, that's what it is. And I knew he could rhyme. I knew Lil B can rhyme. He's from the Bay. What's in the Bay? Souls, the hieroglyphics, Dale. I mean, come on. E40.
There's a lot of soulful history.
A lot of, right.
in that town.
If you're coming from that, there's no way you can't put 2, 3 words, 4 words together when you really want to. He just found something that worked, and he kind of stuck with that. So he reached out to me, man, on Well, he did a song with Tony Yayo, and I was like, yo, he kind of saying a few things in the song.
Wait, I don't think I ever heard
Yeah,
that.
never heard.
Yeah, he got a song with Tony Yayo. And,
How what? Like what
in
the
the
fuck is that song
in
about?
the street, like, yo, like.
With the
Yo,
heat
that shit been crazy.
hanging onto my meat.
So I'm like, yo,
Whoa, whoa.
I'm like, what's up? You know what I mean? So
Pause.
I hit him on Twitter. And I was like, what's up? He was like, man. I said the joint is dope. He's like, yo, and he hit me on DM. He's like, man, I'm a big fan of you, Madlib, and everybody. I got Quasimodo, and I'm like, I knew something was up.
Right.
So then he's like, send me a joint. I promise I'm gonna kill it. And I sent it to him. And I was like, I'm gonna get. And then I sent it to Fonte.
Did you have doubts though? Did you have some doubts?
No.
Okay.
Most rappers are gonna do what the beat tells them to do.
Right.
So I sent it to Fonte. He's like, I'm gonna jump on it. Then I sent to Jeans, like, I'm gonna jump on it. So all three of us ain't got it wrong. You know what I mean? Me, Gene, and Tay, we heard something in them. So we went from there, man. It's all a facade, man. A lot of these cats be doing it, man, because they know when the zeitgeist of the time, where everything is at the lowest common denominator, man, as far as the way cats are rapping. You know, a lot of artists use the words dumb down. So that's the thing right now to do is dumb something down. And so a lot of artists are doing that, and they know that's what works. But that don't mean they can't rap.
Right. But, you know, another part of the battle that I find, this shit is exhausting, man, because as much as I battle these cats that want to put, you know, people of our stature in a certain box, the other battle I have is, like, for example, being prominent on social media. When motherfuckers are like, yo, Combat, you gonna co-sign that shit? I thought you knew better. And I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, motherfucker, you don't know me. Right. To be saying you thought I knew better. like I shouldn't be fucking, like, I shouldn't be excited that Future Drake mixtape is coming out, that I shouldn't be giving props to Amigos, or even, like, curious to figure out what this Young Thug shit is about.
Or how about when last week I said that Nico is on the new Indy 500 album, and one blog wrote that it was Migos. And because blogs are lazy, one blog wrote it and every other blog picked it up. Ninth hit me like, yo, they said Migos gonna be on the album. I woke up on social media, and this kid like, man, I am so disappointed in you, Kweli. I thought you knew better.
You don't know better?
That made me immediately want to call Migos and get them on the album.
Are they on the album? Because I've been reading that the Migos...
Nah, they not.
They not on the album?
Nah,
Can
they
we
not.
get them on the album?
Shout out to Nico is.
Yo, let me tell you, man, what I do appreciate about the Migos is I feel in this, just like how Drake is pushing the art form forward, and cats like Future, and even Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan, I think they've done a lot to push the sound. They changed the whole.
They changed the flow pattern.
Yeah.
They have a family tree of rappers, right? It's like Rakim had a family tree of rappers right after him. There's a couple of rappers in history got family trees. Rakim is one.
Yes, sir.
Jadakiss and Styles.
Yes.
They're another one. Migos has a family tree of rappers right after them because of that Migos flow. That's what it's called. You know.
That's correct. And as an MC, I gotta respect it.
If you start that trend, everybody wants to rap this way and use this particular structure, that says something about your rhyme style. That sounds like
that's
nobody
right.
else.
Internets, this portion of the Combat Jack Show is brought to you by Bevel, the superior shaving system with people with coarse and curly hair. Now, all these people are talking about is cuffing season. I talked about is cuffing season. Everybody's talking about Netflix and chill, hardy har. Listen, if you really want to knock the boots, Bevel and chill. Have your girl come over, have her sit in the bathroom, have her see you pull out that immaculate Bevel kit. Start shaving in front of her. Show her that you're serious about your grooming needs, and you will chill. You will get the skins. Internets, go to getbevel.com, GETBEVEL.com. Punch in the promo code COMBAT, COMBAT, for 20% off all your purchases. Shave like a boss, Bevel, and chill. But what do you say to somebody that's so undyingly loyal to Knife Wonder, to Talib Kweli? Somebody that's so undyingly loyal, but then when you show a difference in appreciation for music like that, and they get, what do you say to those guys? Like, how do you talk them off the ledge?
I say trust. I tell them trust, bro. Like, you looking at me, you giving me all these props and accolades. You really then know that whatever it is you doing during the day from the 9 to 5, I do this music. So trust, I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
You know, even me and Knife even have these discussions between ourselves as artists. We putting out this album. We working on this album. Knife's crew handled all the mixes. I'm like, yo, let me hear the mixes. He's like, bro, you need to trust what I do. And he's right.
And most people come out their face and just say shit like, this don't even sound right. But if they give it a listen, if they trust in you, if they take some time, to check it out, then most people are like, oh, okay, I fuck with this.
Like the Lil Beach.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
Like,
I've had some 20-year friendships that when I co-signed Little B's performance at the Little B performance at the Highline Ballroom a couple of years ago.
It's crazy.
I want to say it was one of my top 10 rap because I had
could see
never
that.
seen no shit like that. And I just remember I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I was high though. And I just remember I was standing. And this is I'm not out here just dropping names, but I was just in a daze. And Miss Info was like, "Yo, what the fuck are we looking at?" And I was like, "I don't know, but this shit, let's cook." And I had to write about that experience. And motherfuckers was like, "Yo, Reg, like you really pushing the art form." Like they took it personally, man.
Yeah, you can't trust. See, remember I said you got to trust.
But these are cats that
but
are
you can't trust people like
have
that.
Contributed
though.
to the game too.
You can't trust because it means that if somebody is like, if you saying that I saw a live experience, and you saying that this live experience,
like
was X,
trust
Y, Z,
me. They're like, we can't trust you.
well, then I wouldn't trust them people,
Right.
And that's why they're not your friends no more.
Right.
I wouldn't because that means that they intentions of why they in it is wrong. Because if you're not in it for a pure artistic experience, a pure musical experience, if you already, it's the same thing as when you pay attention to politics and you see people like us, people who automatically give you all the Republican talking points or all the Democratic talking points. They can't think for themselves. They only towing the party line. That's the same thing in hip hop. If somebody like Reg, if you, with your history in hip hop, says, I went to the Little B show and enjoy it, even if I doubt that.
Internet's top 10 rap experience of my life. Fight me, nigga.
That's because word up. Because look, because I have my own brain
Right.
and I think for myself and I know your history. Even if I think you might be bugging, I need to put something in my brain like maybe I need to change up how I'm thinking.
Right.
If I'm just like, there's no way that he could be right because I know Little B is whack, then I'm an enemy to the culture.
And on top of that, you look at things. A lot of people in hip hop, they look at things and we know how to look at things from an objective lens. A lot of people don't. That's the hardest thing for people to do, look at things from an objective lens and just be able to critique it as such. Other hip hoppers are so emotionally tied into it, they can't look at it. I don't want to hit, like they can't look at it from an objective lens. You can, because that's what most curators of the culture can do.
I almost couldn't. Again, I'm sorry.
Let me add this. Now, what's interesting about this discussion, this eloquent way that Knife Wonder, the professor, just broke it down. That's what that writer in Complex was trying to say.
Yes.
But because he's such a terrible ass writer, he didn't know how to say that properly.
Yappa.
You know what I'm saying? And what he ended up doing was becoming what he critiqued.
Right.
And it's funny, man, because it's ironic. It's kind of like what's going on in the country right now. We're experiencing a lot of changes. Some people want to bring the country back. You know what I'm saying? Like, people want to bring rap back. I don't want to go back to when I was listening to Mr. Magic. And, yeah, you had some highlights, but you had a lot of clumsy, clunky sounds. And the person that also, it's so weird, man, the person that really changed my perspective was Little B, because I was having a conversation with him, and he was like, yo, man, rap is changing. You got rap conservatives that's trying to maintain, and you got rap liberals that's trying to push the art forward. And I was like, you know what? I'd rather be a rap liberal, man.
Man.
And even if I don't understand it, I'm going to try to, it might not be for me. I'm not going to say I like it, but at least I'm going to try to understand
And that's
it.
a liberal spirit, having enough compassion and understand, you know what, maybe that's not for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I know what I want to know, the difference between Talib. You have made a career, even going overseas, I mean, there's so much respect for stuff overseas. Sometimes I feel like in the States, we're so opinionated. I don't know because I don't go to overseas a lot, but what's the difference of why? Like, they love hip hop. Like, they don't
get it.
It will live. Yeah, but they love, like, Carl Kanai is not popping over here, but I heard they're still wearing that shit out there. They appreciate, stuff.
You love what you can't get.
Yeah, it's import culture. Like when there was a English invasion, when the Beatles and the Rolling Stones first came to America, we was eating it up. And I'm sure there's people in England like, there's way better bands than the Beatles. Why are they on that? So it's like import culture is always going to win, and hip hop overseas is the imported culture. So when they listen to hip hop, they're not listening for the same trendy things that these bloggers is listening for. They listen for the cultural thing. Can I break dance to it? Is there scratching? Who made the beat? I just listened to on Mixcloud, J-Rock just did a festival in Croatia.
That mixtape is.
Did you listen to that
flames.
with J-Rock, Pete Rock, and Madlib? Madlib played Madlib in the middle of his set, after playing a Med record, played Groupies by Future, which I love. I said, wait a second, did someone change this? No, this is Madlib playing Future in Croatia, and it worked in his set. And then he went back to some jazzy shit, you know what I'm saying? But it's like out there, Pete Rock performed 3 verses of The Creator. And I'm listening to this, and I could hear the crowd going crazy. It's because they respect the fact, like whether they even knew all the words or not, they just understood what I'm seeing is special. Maybe I wasn't there, but this is hip hop. I'm not here because some blog said it was cool. I'm here because I understand, I feel this music, because I'm trying to get what I can. We're a little bit spoiled by it here. We take it for granted because it was born here.
Yeah. I mean, what's crazy to me, which is really mind-boggling, is in February I spent a little bit of time in Toronto. This is right after Drake dropped the mixtape. If you're reading this, and I thought that was one of the greatest releases of the year. I mean,
me too. I was like, how talented is this dude?
That shit.
How is he writing all these songs? Oh,
bong bong bong.
But Miller time.
Me and Knife got to get some ghostwriters, man. Step our game up, son.
Nah, yeah, conscious ghostwriters though.
Conscious ghostwriters.
So anyway, I'm up in Toronto. It's the week.
Diaz.
It's the week after the mixtape drops. And I'm like, yo, like Drake is really running this rap shit.
That's right.
And a lot of Toronto cats were like, nah, we don't really fuck with him. You really don't know what's Toronto.
Right, you don't know.
I'm like, son, I don't know what's Toronto, but I know what's Toronting right now.
Right,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? This shit is crazy, man.
Look, you listen to the radio, 60% of what they play on urban radio is Drake.
Yeah. But it's also, I guess because in Toronto and Canada, there's this rule where the radio has to play
Canadian
a certain
music.
amount of
That's
Canadian.
right.
So they're probably Draked out. But I'm like, y'all could take Drake for granted, but this motherfucker is it right now.
Nah, Drake is on track to be legendary, bro.
Yes.
He on track to be one of the.
Well, he's already legendary, but he's
Yeah.
about to knock some.
No, he's on
about
track to be
challenge.
one of the greats.
Yeah. Now, Knife, man, what's going on with Zulu, man? What's happening with Zulu Nation, sir?
Man,
In the
I'm waiting for my application, man.
we're growing.
Talk about it, man.
We're growing. We're in a Renaissance type situation right now because Zulu ran in waves. You have the first wave with, Bambaataa and Ahmed Henderson and everybody.
What's the concept of Zulu for people that are not? They've heard Zulu in the records, but they don't know what Zulu Nation is, man.
Well, for the people who don't know what Zulu is, to get a glimpse of how it started, you can watch a documentary called Rebel Kings. Which
Beautiful documentary.
Incredible. But Zulu was birthed out of gang culture. This was birthed out of and
New
out of
York,
black space.
New York,
Yes,
South
in
Bronx.
the South Bronx, Bronx River Houses, 1973. So it spread from that, globally. Just taking, gang members and going and making them DJs and producers and MCs and graffiti writers and trying
Dancers
to find
and-
another ways to express themselves or whatever. And kind of hip hop came out of that. It wasn't called hip hop at first till later on in the 70s, but it came out of that. And so now, the first time I heard Zulu was on Planet Rock, and then it kind of went,
Zulu Nation.
it kind of went back into New York and spread across the globe. But then I heard it again from Brand Nubian and Tribe, right? And so now it's making another wave again with the music that we're making. And so that, that's just what it is. You can be any race, color, creed, religion. It's just finding truth within yourself. And it's not a hip-hop organization, though. We use hip-hop to reach children and to reach the masses and to reach the youth. But it's not a hip-hop organization because when Bambaataa was first DJing, he wasn't playing hip-hop records.
He's playing everything. He's playing rock and
right.
everything.
So that's
Disco.
That's what Zulu is.
So last year there was, this is the first time that we're getting to talk on this show. We talked about it, in other places, but last year there was this big commotion
About Wayne.
Wayne, man.
Right.
Can we talk about that? Like why some people, once again, is this the same conversation where some people feel that Wayne is not hip hop and shouldn't be?
It's just the fact that, it's the fact, and it is funny coming from me in the South, especially the conscious box, because a lot of people think now that you have to sound a certain way coming from the South. If I look at most cats, some cats in the South say, Jay Electronica, yeah, he's from New Orleans. What? I thought he's from New York. Because the way they put words together.
Right.
So not only if they're going to put us in a box like that, they also put us in a box of who we hang with or who we know or who is in our phone or whatever. I just brought David Banner to my school, and a lot of students didn't know we did
The album.
our album together. And my students were like, I wouldn't think y'all would hang together. I'm like, why? Because of the music way. I said, well, you talking about the music, but what about we black? We from the South. Probably our grandma sound the same. Our cousins sound the same.
Y'all aware?
We the same.
Y'all
We
eloquent?
aware. We the
Y'all
same
love
type
hip
of
hop,
music.
right?
Why would I not be in line with Lil Wayne from that standpoint? You know what I mean? Why not? So the thing about Wayne was, and a lot of people go, "Oh, Zulu is about hip hop." Zulu was born out of gangs.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk
Switchblades
about it.
and cut off jean
Right,
jackets.
the first Zulus was killers.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about it. So
Zip guns.
if you're saying that Wayne is too G or too gangster to be in Zulu Nation, then you don't know the birth of Zulu Nation. You just don't know.
I think some people, from what I saw, was talking about like his affiliation with being blood. You know,
That fits right in there.
no, of
There
course.
you
Of course.
go.
I mean, first of all, there's
He's qualified.
there's so many gangs, corporate gangs,
Right.
regular gangs. I mean,
Political gangs.
Exactly, you know
But
what I
just from
mean?
the gang, just the gang mentality itself. You know, even Rubber Kings, Ghetto Brothers, this gang, that gang. So he was in the gang. But the thing about it was, it's about community service. He's done a lot for the 504. There's a lot of rappers that didn't go down to Katrina. They didn't go. You know what I mean? He's done a lot for his area. So just from that standpoint, why wouldn't we want that? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't we? But somebody said something about Wayne because he's the polarizing figure.
Yes.
But nobody said anything about Freddie Gibbs when he made him Zulu. He's
Right.
from Gary, Indiana.
Yeah, but he did an album with Madlib, man. That means he's underground.
Yeah.
He's
You
conscious.
see what I mean?
He's conscious
You
thug.
see how people think?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gangsta Gibbs.
He got a song. He got a song called "Rob Me a Nigga." One of my favorite songs.
Rob me a nigga.
Rob me a nigga.
Yeah.
I'm the rob me a nigga right here, too fly. I might just rob me a nigga. Right. So, but we put him in Zulu. Nobody said nothing.
Listen, I told you before, and I'll tell you now, man, whatever we can do to help, because the influence of Zulu, especially being an old head, has influenced me to do what I'm doing right now. So
Right.
whatever I could do
Yeah, me
to
too,
push
man.
the cause forward, man. And,
You got any
and- and-
Italians
and
in Zulu?
Yep.
Yeah.
I need a membership card,
Chapters.
man.
Got some chapters.
I need a membership card, man.
Chapters.
A lot of
Let
Italians
me,
in
let me know what I
South
could.
Bronx.
I'm thirsty for that,
Man, I
man.
text you about that, man.
A lot of
tell
Italian
you,
writers
I
and
like
exciters and
You know how
MCs
people
and
be
DJs.
texting, man, and keep stuff in their message box
Yeah.
and don't hit send.
Yeah, like me.
Combat did that for me for like 2 months. Dots is on my screen. I'm like, dude, what you
The
gonna do?
dots was on there.
It was on there for a while. They'll pop up and they'll go.
It was percolating. It was percolating. Get ready for the percolator.
Yo, tell
Right.
tell us about this album, man.
It's a beautiful thing. Indy 500 was something that myself and Ninth Wonder and Pharaoh came up with a couple years back. We are all been doing this for a long time, have a lot of industry experience, and we all have artists and crews that we work with. And it just seemed like we was doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. Let's connect. We are all influenced by the native tongues, by Zulu Nation, even by the eras of the when you had Rough Riders and Rockefeller and Bad Boy and Death Row. The crew thing elevates like a rising tide all boats. If I'm doing good, Knife is doing good, and Pharaoh's doing good. If Pharaoh's doing good, and that's the way it always was like that. But we decided to give it a name and
Make it official.
Make it official. And Indy 500 came to be, and immediately Ninth and I started working on this album together, and now we here.
And why is it called Indy 500?
That's the name that Pharaoh came up with, man. And I was like, wow, you know what I mean? And it seems like that's the new trending thing to be right now. It's independent. We've been independent, that's a whole nother Combat Jack episode. You know what
Independent.
I mean? I'm independent. I'm doing it myself.
500.
And I learned, because I have the benefit and the privilege of having millions of marketing dollars used in the beginning of my career. So you have fans of mine who like, yo, there's nothing better than Black Star, Reflection, Eternal Quality. Yeah, well, there's $3-4 million, $5 million spent to get you to feel that way. I feel like as an artist, I've only grown, but it hasn't been marketed in the same way. So yeah, are there songs from that era that I feel like I will never achieve and can't be touched? Absolutely. But I feel like as I became an independent artist and I started looking at what Jamla was doing, looking at what Stone's Throw had been doing, looking at what Duck Down had been doing. Even younger people than me like Fool's Gold and, Mad Decent, younger artists who came up after me who didn't have the big marketing dollars and figured it out. I was like, how can I take these fans I got because I was marketed to the world and bring them to my lane and do it independently? I got to learn from the people who've been doing it the whole time.
How do I scale it back and make it more intimate?
Yeah.
Now you said crew. Who's in the crew? Who's in Indy 500?
Indy 500, is
My label, Jamla. That's Rhapsody, Hollow, GQ, Actual Proof, TP, Heather Victoria, the Soul Council, my beat team.
Yep.
Javoti Media.
Javoti at this point is Jessica Care Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Nico is, and his whole Colors of the Culture crew, which is thanks Joey and a whole bunch of other artists. Corey Moe and Corey Moe, Kay Valentine, MK Asante, who's a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, Knife got a great relationship, and through Knife's relationship, I have a great relationship with Problem and Bad Luck, the whole Diamond Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And Pharaoh Monch, of course, has War Media. They have
Damn, this shit is getting bigger. This shit is some.
And add to
some
Chicago.
warrior shit. Like
it is. It's
Yeah.
if you down with us. It's like even Brother Ali is on the album.
Yeah.
Slug from Atmosphere is on the
Yeah,
album.
I got. You know what?
Planet Asia.
I got to interrupt, man. I'm going to Minnesota Thursday, and out the blue, I hope you don't get mad for me saying this, but I got a letter out. I don't know Brother Ali. I had one conversation with him face to face, and we talk on social media. But the brother wrote me a heartfelt letter about 2 weeks ago about how he values what we're doing on this show, like from the heart.
He's real like that.
And the shit just galvanized me. He was like, yo, there's a lot of shit going on, and motherfuckers going to try to discredit what y'all doing. And out the blue. And
Great
it's like,
dude.
and I ride for that kid. Like, I wrote for him before because
I
I
feel the
think he's
same
a
way,
dope
son.
MC and a dope person, but out of the blue to write me a fucking letter, like
That's
700 words.
That's who that dude is. The song that you hear on the album is, I think it's the last song on the album, is Me, Brother Ali, Planet Asia, produced by Crisis. Me and Brother Ali recorded that in my hotel room after meeting with Farrakhan. Because we came back from the Farrakhan meeting and we got to talking. I'm like, me and Knife doing this album. You need to hop on this album. He hopped on it immediately.
That's crazy.
That's who that dude is.
So is this I don't want to get into the delineation again of the labels, but pun intended, but is this a Javoti project? Is this a Jamla project? Like how who's going to be releasing this project?
We both are.
Okay.
The joint.
So it's like a joint
Traffic
venture.
distribution.
Joint venture.
Yeah,
Okay.
joint
Joint
venture.
venture.
When is this record coming out, man?
November.
No. Well, when is this episode airing?
This episode is airing
That might tell him he
Tomorrow.
knows the whole program.
Tomorrow, okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah, so we can say it.
Yeah. This November
6th.
Yeah, November 6th.
6th.
You can go to iTunes and pre-order right now. You know, we was just on Jimmy Fallon performing the joint with Rhapsody.
That was great, man.
Great
I
performance.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I love your outfit on
Oh,
there.
I
too.
was look, man. I had to go to. You know what I'm saying?
I see you.
Now let me ask you
Pimping
something.
is pimping.
Knife, you've worked with so many people, man. How is it working with Talib, man? Like what does he bring to the game from your perspective that's so unique?
You know what, man? Is the one thing that I'm learning. You know, I've been in the game now for about 12, 13 years. It's from certain cats you learn how to longevity in this business. You know what I mean? Longevity and relevancy in this business. And that's one thing I'm learning from him. You know what I mean? Because I was that kid you were talking about in 97, 98, where I was like, fuck Puff and fuck.
I was that kid in '88.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Fuck Hammer.
You're right.
Yeah, I was
exactly.
like, fuck Hammer. And
Hammer's
then me,
so
and
amazing.
then me and Mos went to Hammer's crib to do a Black Star song
Yeah.
20 years later after I was like,
You
fuck
see
Hammer.
what I mean? Like, and that's
Still
I-
type fuck Vanilla
I'm that
Ice, but
kid.
that for other reasons.
So
Anyway, sorry.
I am a descendant of native tongues and rockers, straight up. Like that's my lineage. You know what I mean? So
That's
it's an
beautiful
honor.
that you say that like that, man.
I mean, it all ties in, you know. But it's an honor first and foremost because you never know. I think sometimes us as artists, we kind of get lost in who we are instead of understanding we're still fans and understanding where we are in our place. So my thing is it's a trip for this even happen because if you'd asked me when I first bought the Black Star album back September 29th, 1998, I would have told somebody they were a lie. You know what I mean? But now it's like here. So it's kind of like, it was the same thing with Buckshot. The same thing. You know what I mean? So
It's a great album
definitely
too,
an
man.
honor.
Great collaboration.
Definitely an
I
honor
love that one.
for it to go down.
Well, technically, like if you can peel back the layers, man, like what were some of the things you had to adjust with Talib? Was there? I mean, as a producer, you're not a beat maker. You're a producer.
Right.
Give us an example. You're like, yo, Ta, flip it like this, or you pull back on that.
Well, majority of the joints he did himself. You know what I mean? Recorded himself or whatever, and it's up to us, myself, Christ, the Soul Council, to kind of get together and just to meld it all together. My thing is with rappers, as a producer, rappers like to say things 2, 3, 4, 5 times because it's never. And I understand that the MC mentality is never I can say this word better. I know I can say this line better. But from producers, it's a feeling aspect. We like the feeling of it. So we just listen to the feeling. If you stumble across a word, that may be the right thing you need to do.
You don't have to perfect it.
Right.
It's
You
already
know,
perfect.
it doesn't have to perfect.
Right.
And so, just translating that to choir, I'm like,
That's
I
right.
know you can say it better, but this feels great. You don't have to say your verse is over. This is great as is. So that's kind of some of the things that we were doing this record. But a learning experience, man, definitely learning experience. And a lot of times I had to sit back and say, Knife, I know what I'm talking about. All right.
And
That's what it is.
With you, Talib, sorry to cut you off. What was your experience with?
I mean,
what did you learn working with Knife?
Those are great points that Knife made. Not to take it too much off of Knife, but even what he was talking about the feeling. I became a better MC after listening to Slum Village, because at that time in my career, I was trying to be perfect, and I would be in the booth for hours trying to perfect the line, and now listen to Slum Village, and they mumbling about Menage a Trois, and I'm like, we be them niggas and we be them. That's all you wrote for the song? And that shit feels great. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait, all I had to write was we be them niggas, we be them, and it's a great song? I've been doing too much work. You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Rap
so
smarter.
yeah, I became better. I learned about feeling. I learned about get out my own head, get out what I'm trying to represent for the lyrics, get out what I'm thinking about, what the fans gonna think of how I said this, and just how does it feel on the track. I've learned a lot from Knife as far as how he's run Jamla. I mentioned it earlier. Knife would come to New York first times we was hanging out, and would try to take Knife to the club and turn up, because I used to go turn up. I still do, but not as much as I did back then. And Knife, I would take Knife to these clubs, and he'd be like, "Nigga, can we go to the studio?"
So you super conscious.
Yeah, like that.
You
I'm
super
duper.
So,
Super.
but years later, Jamla is now the squad, as opposed to Jamla being something that Knife is trying to do.
Right.
Now when Knife says Jamla is the squad, you know what he's talking about. Now when Knife says Soul Council, you know what he's talking about. As opposed to, at that point, it was just trying to convince people it's more than just Little Brother. You know what I'm saying? And I've learned so much about Knife is my sounding board, and also just the independent thing. Knife Wonder hasn't had the opportunities I've had in this business. When Little Brother dropped, Ruckus was already a big thing. I remember listening to Little Brother and be like, this reminds me of Black Star, but not in a bad way, like, oh, somebody else got the formula too. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and then other people were saying that when that first Little Brother album dropped, Listen was the first one.
Yep.
When that dropped, I remember the reviews, like, it feels like Raucous, it feels like Black Star, and I was like, yo, they got something going on here, and for Knife to grow up in hip hop, and what's bugged is that we about the same age.
Yeah.
But even though he says that he comes from Raucous, we still the same age, so he's influenced by the same thing I'm influenced by. So when he had a platform and a position to influence, immediately it was Jamless the Squad. Immediately it's like Zulu Nation. Immediately it was like, okay, I'm gonna be a professor. I'm gonna go to Harvard. I'm gonna go to Duke. I'm gonna take it all the way there. Some of those things I fell back on because I didn't want to be looked at as people already look at me as super conscious.
You already started your career from a bookstore.
Yeah, I started in the bookstore. Now we here. You know what I'm saying? So I might have said no to some of those opportunities, or not said no, but not really pursued them in the way that I should have or could have.
Right.
And I've learned from Knife how to embrace all of that and still be able to do a record with Little B, if that's what I feel like.
I'm sorry, what's the name of the album? It's the Indy 500, and the name of the crew is Indy 500.
That's right.
Yep.
Coming out in November.
That's right.
Yeah.
You doing tours?
Yeah, man.
With most?
I
Right?
guess.
What do you mean you guess?
I mean,
Talking about this.
I guess.
What do you mean?
I mean, look, Black Star does several shows a year. And every time we get billed, it gets billed as this reunion tour. But it's never that. It's just we do shows. And because people are excited about Black Star, the billing and the hype becomes they're doing a tour. Yeah. And we show up on stage like, I guess this is the reunion.
Right,
I guess that's how they want to sell the tickets.
How's the brother doing, man?
I think he's doing good. Yasin Bey is one of the most popular artists on the planet. And what he's doing is he's traveling the planet and making it so much more about hip hop. And who he is now is so much closer to Yasin Bey as an individual than I think Mos Def was, which I think is why he made the name change. But God bless my brother, man. I love him to death, and he's been one of my hugest influences.
Very good, man. Last thing I gotta say, man. Y'all have anything to say, man? Else?
My artist list, I left out the good brother from Chicago, Add 2. We just put out a project called Pray for the Poor.
Pray for the
I
Poor.
just want to put that out there.
Check for it.
Check for it from Chicago.
Me and Add 2 got a dope joint on the
How do you spell
Indy
that?
500.
Add 2, like add, ADD dash 2.
Okay.
Add 2.
That's pretty
Yeah,
simple.
only 2.
Talib, man, I had a good time being your hype man at that yacht party, man. That was a good night, man.
Oh, man, I missed that.
I want to do that again. Can
No,
we
what's
do that
crazy
again?
is that I didn't read the emails properly.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there, they said, so you gonna play, it's me and Tony Touch DJ at a party. They said, you gonna play Rockefeller, Tony Touch gonna play Bad Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I have the skills and the capacity to do, I have the musicality and the knowledge to
Talk
be able to
about it.
play an all Rockefeller set.
Mm-hmm.
But I was upset. I'm like, why would you hire me and Tony Touch and then dictate what we play?
Mm.
What's the point of hiring me and tell me to play Jay-Z records? You could have had a working DJ who works 5 nights a week do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you hire Talib Kweli, you hire me to hear what I want to play. But I played like 20 minutes of Rockefeller. Then we went wherever we went.
When you played Whoa,
Right. Bad
my
Boy
nigga,
record.
it was a rap. It was a rap. I stage dived into the.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was crazy.
Combat Jack and Angela Yee as my hype man.
Yo,
That was beautiful.
that was fun though. I love that concept, man. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah. No, going into it, it was my fault for not reading the email. Keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? Like, but
But I see what you're saying. They could have hired DJ Wait a Minute for, and spun some shit, If they bring Talib, let the motherfucker, like
they wanted people to
like
pay.
how Clark always says and how real DJs, I feel, say.
DJ
like,
Clark Kent.
you don't come up and fucking ask for a request. No, let the motherfucker play. Like, if you come up, that's disrespectful. Like, how you going to come up and ask somebody, like, play this? Nah. Let them do what they
I'll
do.
play a set of this. But again, I do like the concept.
It was a
I
theme,
do like, and there was different rooms.
The verses.
I do like the concept. I just would have rather been a fan in that room than me to one have to play the record.
Right. Listen,
What's crazy is about this interview. A year ago at A3C, that's when you interviewed me for the first
yeah, that's crazy, right? And then this week is A3C, man.
Right.
A3C is back.
Are you gonna be there?
I don't know.
Yeah, are you going to A3C?
I don't fuck with A3C.
Why not, man?
I just think that they realized the value of hip hop. And because of that, and they're probably fans of hip hop, and because of that, they came up with a way to celebrate the culture and make a little money on the side. But I think that they have taken the make a little money on the side part to the next level, and they disrespectful.
Make a lot of money.
They're disrespectful to people in the culture and how to deal. They try to get you for the low, for the cheap, and for the low. And I did that for a few years, and to the point where I felt like, you know what, this is not a healthy relationship for me.
I want to shout out specifically Tom White, who's always I felt was the heart and soul of A3C. And
Yes.
He's no longer part of A3C.
No, he's not.
But he fought for years to get us
bring
on the
us
show.
down
He
there.
fought to, I remember when we did the show a couple of years ago. We did a live interview with 2 Chainz when like the height of 2 Chain mania, and we had some. They gave us this bullshit club off the beaten path, and it's probably like 20 people that came out. This is 2 Chainz.
I think they did that to me a couple times too.
Which is
bullshit club.
which is crazy. Which is but they're trying their best to make amends. So I'm yo.
We down there. This is our 4th year.
If y'all can see what's going on,
I'm
man.
actually DJing in Atlanta this Saturday.
Oh, so we'll
Where?
be there.
We'll be
Where?
there.
At some club. It's A3C this Saturday?
I'm
DJing somewhere.
We'll be there. We'll be there.
Because someone respects me enough
Somebody
to pay
wrote
me
you
to
to do
come.
an A3C event,
But
Talib.
they didn't
You
write-
didn't read the
they
email.
didn't have to read the
You
email,
didn't read the
son.
email.
I didn't read the email.
Talib is representing A3C.
Yo, they hitting you with the good distribution.
Yo, listen,
you having
man.
to get
Right.
features on this album with Don Lemon? Is doing any ad-libs or anything
Yeah, what's
like
up
that
with Brother
on
Don, man? Brother
Hey,
Don.
man, shout out to Don Lemon, He out there making friends.
Yo, listen, Talib, man, don't stop.
Oh, man, I
Don't-
can't.
don't stop.
Shout out to Van Jones. Because if you watch that interview carefully, there's a moment when I was done. Early, before we even argued. And Van Jones was standing there like,
Leave it alone. B.
no, he was like, go back and do your interview.
Okay.
Because if you watch, I was walking off.
Right.
Because I know better I know I'm an argumentative type of dude. So when I already seen
Really?
it, yes.
Okay.
So when I seen it go in that direction, I was like, you know what? If you're not going to talk to me in a way that I feel like respectful, we're not even going to have a conversation.
Why would I respect
And
you?
Van Jones was like, go back. And so that's why I was standing there tight.
Listen,
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Listen, brothers, I don't care if you got another project coming out, if you opening up a Conscious Bean Pod Shop.
QualityClub.com. Speaking of Conscious Bean Pods, you can get all types of books, and you could get art prints, and you could get albums. You know, Jessica Care Moore, one of the greatest poets I ever heard.
Beautiful
She dropped
woman,
her
too.
debut
Beautiful.
album. You can get the physical at QualityClub.com, the vinyl, the CDs. You can get the album on iTunes too. But QualityClub.com, it was built for me by Ryan Leslie. It's my store.
Oh, Disruptive.
Yeah, Disruptive Media. Shout out.
They've been calling me to do that shit, man.
You need to, yo, for real. Ryan Leslie changed my life, bro.
put some money in the
He's the
accounts.
man.
That's right.
Put
Shout
some
out
money in
to
the accounts.
put some money on the books.
Yeah, sir.
I'm inviting you guys. I'm in January. I'll be the new artist of residence at University of Pennsylvania.
See, that's
Nice,
what I'm talking
nice.
about, son. Step
Africana
my game up.
Studies.
Raise the
We're
bar.
we're doing a master class. I'm doing 2 master classes, one on beats, and I'm doing another master class on the 20th anniversary of Illadelph Half-Life.
Wow.
So
Concerto of
I'm
the
down.
Desperado.
I'll be there. We'll be there.
okay, I'll
Let's
let you
let's
know.
go get our academia on,
It'll
Pete.
be an honor. Yo,
Definitely,
it'll be an honor.
brothers. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
Yo,
you.
This nigga
Anytime,
smart, yo.
every time.
Too smart. Yo, I want to say, you know what? Before we go,
Pete, the
I'm address-
conscious felon.
No, I'm address. Forget about that. Forget about being a felon.
I already know about.
Listen, Tyler,
premium
we
over here.
change. We change.
Yeah,
We're
you
new
know what I'm
people.
saying?
You know, but
That's right. You're a liberal now.
honestly, yo, Talib, real talk. First of all, both of you, man. I love y'all, man. Like I love Talib.
It's all love, Pete.
No, real talk. I love that you've never been anybody other than yourself, man. And I really like, honestly, man. Forget about rap or anything. I love that. And you know, with Night, man. You know, like even besides music, just your rally, man. The way you rally behind the troops, like you know, you a true boss, man. And it's funny because me and Sean Price, man. You know, rest in peace, man.
Jesus.
You know, we used
Word.
to, you know, we used to say that, you know, and we never told, you know, we just talking, you know, we used to say that you're one of the most underrated sneaker lovers in hip hop, man. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know, we used to say that, me and Sean
Them
Price.
J's you got
man.
on your feet right now, B. I'm
No,
so I'm
he
so
always got
envious
some
right
flavor.
now.
He always got
I'm
some
so
flavor.
envious right now. Those joints right there. Woo!
Yeah, I just appreciate. I mean, we appreciate. I mean,
Boycott
hip hop
Nike.
appreciaes y'all, man.
Word
Don't
up.
worry about
That's-
no fucking barbecues,
love.
all right? We
That's
throw
love.
our own barbecues.
That's right. And our
Yeah.
barbecues is fly.
Most
Yeah,
definitely.
Let's throw a barbecue this summer, man.
For real, man.
real,
We
definitely.
can play some Lupe Fiasco.
Memphis style dry rub
Yo, that'd be
ribs on
funny
the fucking thing.
Word up.
No, tofu.
If we do a conscious,
Shrimps.
Tofu.
Lobster.
I had
Tofu.
Sonny
No,
Anderson
everything
come on my
tofu.
house and barbecue. She threw a cheese wheel on the grill.
Damn.
yo,
Brie.
we do a
She grilled the
conscious hip-hop
cheese.
barbecue,
Brie.
that shit'd be funny.
Yeah, Kufi. If
Listen,
you,
for real,
$5 off for Kufi.
I
and
do
dashiki.
barbecues, bro. Like, my barbecues is legendary.
Yo, let's do it.
That's why I know Complex don't know what the fuck they
Let's
talking
do
about.
it. Let's
You
do it.
eat kale now? You eat kale?
I'll fuck up some kale.
I like that. Listen.
Yo, internets, man. You know what it is, man. Dream those dreams. Man up, woman up, and live those dreams because a life without dreams is black and white, and the universe flows in technicolor and surround sound.
Blow. Cheer. Indy 500. Internets, what's going on? It's Premium Pete, and you know what time it is. It's time for Premium Pete's Rant of the Week. And this week, man, King, I'm going to touch on drug use, man, and doing drugs. Now, listen, I'm not going to condone drugs, but I'm just going to tell you, you know, why not to do drugs because of what happened to me. Man, I remember, King, when I was like 17 years old, I was smoking diesel dust with a couple of friends. They told me it was weed. Next thing you know, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I found myself, you know, in between the screen door and the door to my mother's house. My father opened the door to, you know, go to work at 6 in the morning. Me and the fucking paper rolled down the steps, you know, embarrassing. I think I had no shirt on either. I don't know what the fuck was going on.
Sweaty.
Yeah, man, don't smoke diesel. Listen, don't smoke dust, okay? And I will say, you know, I never forget, like, years ago when I was going to, like, some of these raves parties, I was smoking things that I didn't even know fucking existed, like DMT. It was like, they're like, yo, try this shit out. And, you know, I was in that stage where I was like, all right, yeah, I'll fuck with it. Yo, my whole world was a kaleidoscope. I'm telling you right now, like, it was just like one big light show for about 17 hours. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So don't fuck with DMT. Don't fuck with, you know, dust. And I will say this, even acid, King, I'll never forget this. I took acid one time. Well, multiple times. Let me not lie. And the bus came down the block, cut in half. Fucking people were waving at me. The people were waving at me, and then all of a sudden, 2 seconds later, the back caught up to the front and stuck together. And then I had another story where I was messing with this girl, and whenever I would be, you know, like I was so nervous because me and her were having sex. And when I was ready to come, she was like, come on my stomach or my breast. And we were both tripping out on multiple hits of acid, and when I came on her, it started to sizzle, like, you know, like it was fucking like I was melting her, like yeah, my fucking sperm was sizzling, man. It was like fucking burning her. So I was scared because I was like, yo, you good? And she was like, something's wrong, it's burning me. And yo, I really thought I was fucking like, you know, here I am, right? I'm thinking like, fuck, I'm gonna go to jail. Fucking this girl's gonna die. You know, I'm like, fuck. So listen, internet. Don't fuck with drugs because of these fucking stories. Listen, everybody needs something to take them away from what's going on in life. But not these drugs. I'm telling you why drugs are no good. I'm not here glorifying fucking drugs. Listen, I'll give my last story. I'll never forget I was on mushrooms one time. And I was tripping. The whole fucking world was pink. I swear to God, I saw John Stamos in the fucking clouds. I see Danny Terrio in the fucking clouds. I seen Spike Lee hanging on the corner. But I really didn't see these fucking people. This is what I was seeing. And all of a sudden, I'll never forget, my friend said, yo, you got to stop home because we got to get a couple of things. So I said, you know what? Let's go to my house. We went to my house. It was the worst thing I ever did because what happened was as soon as I get to my house, my mother and father are downstairs, and I look at them. They fucking look like midgets. And all of a sudden, they tell me, they're like, hey, do you know where the TV guide is? We need the TV guide. So I go upstairs, sit on my fucking bed, bugging out, thinking like, yo, how the fuck am I going to get this TV guide? Because I don't know what the fuck, I can't pay attention. I can't concentrate right now. Yeah. So I literally just get the fucking, a couple sweaters and shirts and stuff, throw it in the fucking JanSport, and I run downstairs, and they're like, Pete, the TV guide, where is it? So I fucking said, shit, I'm sorry. So I run back upstairs, sit up there for another 10 minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, fuck, how the fuck am I going to get this TV guide? Because I can't pay attention. I don't remember where I put it. I don't know where it is. All of a sudden, yo, King, I fucking literally grabbed my fucking JanSport, run back downstairs, and they're like, the TV guy, I don't know where the fuck it is. And I ran the fuck outside and fucking ran for the coast, man, and I didn't come back, you know? I didn't come back for about a day or two. Damn. You know? That's what drugs do to you. So, internets, listen, if you're going to do some type of drug, make that drug be somebody you love. Make that drug be, you know, doing something that you're passionate about. Don't fuck with drugs because look what they did to Premium Pete. And you don't want that to happen to you.
Say no to drugs.
Say no to drugs and say yes to something else. Premium Pete's Rant of the Week. Cheer.
What up, internet? It's your boy A-King. Hashtag the weekly drop. This weekly drop is coming out of Columbus, Ohio, from an artist named Supernatural featuring Elliot Trent. This record is called I Can Tell. Make sure you download the Combat Jack Show app on Google Play, App Store. You know what it is, man. In front of cameras, I'm with some real niggas, never with no actors. I got my cash up, so what's the plan? You ever fucked in a bag of a jack, huh? I ain't even have to dip into my stash just to get her attention. He got to buy. To hear the rest of this joint, make sure you download the Combat Jack Show app on iTunes, Google Play, and local bodegas.
This episode of the Combat Jack Show was produced by Jonathan Mena, executive produced by A-King and Chris Morrow, engineered by Samir Karan, and recorded in the Engine Room Audio Studio in downtown Manhattan. This is an official Loudspeakers Networks production.